If we can.
It was on.
Right, just tell me when we're good. Awesome. So I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Brookline School Board, August 26, 2026. The first thing on our agenda are agenda adjustments, and we actually have two. The first is to add to the agenda discussion and deliberation about adding a liaison to the select board. May I get a motion that the agenda be adjusted to add that?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you. And then the second agenda adjustment is, Heather.
I can second it. Yeah.
Yep. The second agenda adjustment would be a discussion and deliberation to reschedule our October board meeting because there is a conflict with one of our school's open houses. September.
Yes.
Just kidding.
I saw
September.
this.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
we would like to just talk about a date for that. May I get a motion to adjust the agenda to add that?
I'll make a motion.
And a second? Thank you. All in favor? Appreciate it. All right. So moving forward, so the consent agenda. So this is a reminder that the board has provided the superintendent authorization to hire, accept resignations, and terminate staff until the September board meeting. Gina, do you have anything you want to add pertaining to the consent agenda?
Nope, the consent agenda is posted.
So, okay, so it is posted. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as it appears in our documents? May I get a second? Awesome. All in favor? Excellent. Moving right along. So, approval of minutes. This is seeking approval of minutes for the Brookline School Board from June 10th, 2026. Members absent were myself and Member Perry. The following amendment was offered. Page 6, line 35, to insert a comma followed by it, following taking it. May I get a motion to accept as amended?
I will make a motion to accept as amended.
Excellent. And a second? Thank you. All in favor? All abstained? Thank you. The next is to approve the Brookline School Board public hearing, the Special Ed Trust Fund from June 10th, 2026. Again, members absent, Mannion and Perry. May I get a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
And a second? Thank you. All in favor? All abstain? Appreciate it. All right. And with that, I will turn it over to our principals for their principal report.
Okay, good evening. For our principal's report, our enrollment in Brookline is 548. At RMS, we have 310 families, and at CSDA, we are at 238. So our starting enrollment is, pretty consistent to where it was. It's a little bit lower than last year, off by 6 to start the year. However, we did gain 2 students at RMS, so we're getting closer. Yep. Today we welcomed our new families to our school at both RMS and CSDA, so we had new family orientation. So that was great. We had a nice visit, and we got to tour the building with the families and answer any questions they have and get the students acclimated to where their classes are. Then the next day, all schools around the United States will recognize Constitution Day. And then Mr. Miller has his open house on the 23rd, and I believe I heard, was that right? Open house.
Yeah, yeah.
That's accurate.
The 23rd, our open house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're looking to possibly.
You put the school, or maybe it was the 30th on it.
Nope.
No.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're in conversation.
So that's our principal report. And then for Brookline, we are staffed, and we are in really great shape at RMS. We have one paraeducator on there because we have a contractor, so we're looking to hire for our own, and then at CSDA, same thing, 3 paraeducators. So, but we're in probably better shape than we ever have than other years, which is great.
Awesome.
So.
Are you getting applicants for those roles? How has that been looking in terms of an applicant pool, or has it been
Yes.
slow?
Do you mind if I take this one?
Yeah.
So the applicant pool has been stronger than in past years. It may not look like we have as many, as fewer contract paras as we wish we had, but we had an increase of needs for
Okay.
paraeducators, so we've actually hired quite a few, in proportion to the needs that we had arise over the course of this past year, if that makes sense. So we ended last year with 6 contracted paraeducators. Right now, you'll see on the next attachment that we actually have 5 contracted paraeducators. It's 4 at CSDA and 1 at RMMS. However, one of those we anticipate not being in need anymore by Halloween.
Okay.
And then we are still actively hiring for the rest. So, and we did have an increase of needs for paraeducators, so those were hired for. So it proportionally, we are stronger than we were, and we are still actively hiring. And the pool has been better than historically.
May I ask, do you know off the top of your hand how many above last year we needed? Was it like 3? Was it 4?
Minimum
Was it-
2, it could have been 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
So, and then the next attachment is our staffing list that shows all the returning staff. It shows if there were any changes with grade placement or position, and then any new staff are underlined in bold and orange. So,
And I just want to note, if we can add to this staff list, Jamie Boysignol is a reading specialist at CSDA. I just want to make sure that she's included on this for.
She is.
Updated. Jamie Boysignol, I don't see her.
She's under CSD. I see her. She's under CSD under Lisa Lindsay.
Oh, under a specialist position.
Yeah,
Thank
under
you so much.
specialist,
I was
yeah.
looking under special education. I appreciate that.
but she's like
So-
special education.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
she actually works solely with special education, so she could be under special education staff. I apologize. That's why I saw that.
No, I appreciate
That
you
was
making
there.
sure
Thank
that she
you.
was on the list.
Yeah.
So, and then our next board meeting, we'll give a update about things that happened over the summer, our goals for the year, and anything else.
Okay.
I want to take a quick minute to thank Dan for opening up RMMS to the library last week for some students to come in. They had a story time here, which was very well attended. And I think a lot of the students were students that were incoming kindergartners as well, so that was a really lovely, yes, microphone. That was a lovely opportunity, I think, for our students who are new to this building to be able to come in, meet the principal, get a little tour. They got to go to the playground. We dodged some hornets. That was fun. But yeah, so thank you, Dan, for making that and taking time out of your summer to open up the school for the students. And I know, Chaz, you had new students coming in today as well. So I know the families appreciate it when they're able to make those connections. So thank you.
It's fun.
For CSDA, we just completed our hiring of a 6th grade teacher, which was great. So we are all set and ready to start the year, which is very nice. And I want a special shout out to Bell Tates in Brookline here. We this summer. It's been a long time coming, but the Teachers Lounge had not really been touched in a very, very long time. And so we decided to make it into a little Zen den for them. So Bell Tates donated $100 for the paint, so was very thankful for that. And then PTO donated $135 for a new work table, and then a group of other people, a large group of other people, myself included, added some other things to it and made it really beautiful. I have pictures, but I can probably show them next time to you guys. But staff was very appreciative for that space. We renamed it. It's not the Teacher's Lounge. It's now the Wolf Den. So they'll be able to go in the Wolf Den and have a few moments of calm, and then go back out because their pack needs them. So and do that.
Are there any other needs for that, or is that all set?
No, we're all set. A little description. We have. I got a little one of those little fountains, tabletop fountains in there. We got some things that go on the wall that match kind of the wonderful woodsy area that we're in. It's very rustic in there. And then there's the little, what do you call those light up candles, the battery
tea
ones?
lights?
Tea
Yeah.
lights,
Tea
yeah,
lights.
yeah. So those are around the table, and then there's some on the wall. So it looks really nice when you dim there. And we got
Who's
them a
got
new
the duty
microwave.
of turning those lights on and off?
Well, and I know, right? I'm trusting responsible people. They're gonna do it. But it looks really nice in there. People have been impressed. But they deserve it. They work really hard. So.
Well, thank you to everybody who contributed and donated to the space. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
We
it was
appreciate
really
it.
good. It was really good. So the other big thing we did was the carpool. So I had come in last year, and it was something that's been on my radar for a little bit. But first year, I try not to come in and change too much. But what I did notice is throughout the year, and I checked it sporadically. Sometimes there were cars there, sometimes there weren't. But on Townsend Hill Road, there was a lot of backup, especially in the afternoon. It was probably more so in the afternoon. But it was because when we come up for carpool and go around the roundabout and come down, there's just not enough room on campus. There was room for about, I'd say 20 cars, maybe tops, coming down. The rest of them spilled off onto Townsend Road. And from when I asked last year, it was, well, this has been this way for years. We'll try to figure out something for it. The other sticky part was right here in the mornings when the buses came around, and then carpool was going at the same time. It was still safe, but I think it could have gone efficiently, and if there's ever a way to pull buses away from carpool traffic, that's always a good thing to try to do. So I ended up making the decision after talking with Megan Frick from the Brookline Fire Department, talking with Gina, that if we could use the back access road to swing carpool all the way around, and that would keep a nice round flow going all around the building. It would also completely take out any kind of standing traffic on the front of campus. So first thing I did was I drove it out and used my car plus a little bit more, and figured out if we had standing traffic, and let's say, I'll explain to this standing point here where kids get off in a second. But if we had traffic back up here in the afternoon like it does, how much traffic backs up to about mid-portable, and then from about here? And there's about 40, 41 cars. And I clocked that we probably had maybe 30 cars that come out here, 30, 32 cars that come out there at any given day. So this fits it very nicely to have it back here, and there's no conflicts with standing traffic. Megan Frick had talked about we got to stay clear of these gates. There's one here and one here. There can't be any standing traffic there, because even though the gates are wide, if we had standing traffic, for instance, through one of these gates, a fire truck would have a tough time getting through. Whereas here, this is very wide. You can actually have standing traffic and a truck could get through. So, and if the standing traffic ends here, then it's single lane right through here. They could easily get through either side. And then there's the pumps here. So that wouldn't be an issue at all. So everything right through here, standing-wise, is absolutely fine. It's plowed in the winter. I noticed last winter, because we did some recesses out there when it got really icy, they actually plow it really wide throughout the winter. So that was another good thing. So the standing traffic was one thing that fit this pattern. Now coming in here, and I'm going to mark this off really obviously here, and there's going to be probably 3 or 4 cars at a time that can either load or unload here, and then the kids are going to walk right into either the side door right here that comes out that they use for recesses, or the gym door. The gym door we'll use before winter, and that'll take them right to the front lobby area. And when it's inclement weather, we'll use that door here because we have mats down and things like that so that they don't track anything into the gym. And then they can go, and they both come out the same spot. I'm always in the front. I greet the kids in the morning. So in the front lobby area where they come into, I'm always there, and then we'll have a person stationed at this door and a person stationed down here. Previously, we would have a person stationed right here as kids got dropped off. So we're just going to add one more person to this area here, which will be fine. So the kids are just going to walk right up and go through there. Like I told the families today as I talked about it, that everything I put in place comes out perfect. So I'm not worried that there's going to be any revisions whatsoever. But I told them to bear with us a little bit. I think this is a better setup than what we had. Whether it stays like this or we end up tweaking it based on what we see and what kind of comes out of it is one thing. But the goal of making this front part more efficient and especially safer on Townsend Hill Road, this achieves those goals. The logistical items, I think we're going to work out just a little bit in that back area, but they do have plenty of room just to drive right through here, and then they exit the same way they did before. So, questions?
Okay, so first, as the parent who times herself coming from RMS to here, and is typically the last car in the driveway or the first car on Townsend Hill, thank you. Have you given any thought for the first couple weeks that you're doing this, particularly in the afternoon, of having somebody out there to just keep an eye on the flow? Because I will say, as the car that usually sits there and does a lot of observation, people fly out of the parking lot, and I don't want to like call our staff out or anybody who's at the building, but they fly through that parking lot. So I have a little concern with people coming up, banking a left, especially as people are coming out. I think there's going to be some congestion there, and I would be interested to make sure we have eyes on that the first couple weeks, and just until we get the one we're going to want, and if nobody has looked at this, you're going to want eyes out there anyways to redirect traffic, but just kind of knowing how that traffic flows during the year as somebody's watched, I think it's a point to keep an eye on. And then the same thing with the loop coming out from the front of the building,
Yep.
and then anybody or buses or anybody that needs to make that left, just do you have a plan to have eyes out there, or I know you're usually in the building, so you might not know how kind of crazy that gets.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because Dan just made a note. Those are some of the things that I'm going to ask some people about, and this is why I'm kind of vetting it now so that if you guys have seen things. Parents this morning gave me some good suggestions too,
Okay.
as they put it together. Getting eyes at different points. I think this whole kind of point here, I would love to have somebody take a look at how this just flows. I think people will naturally slow down before the dirt, but this is a pretty long stretch without a speed bump. So I love
Right.
that idea, and I made a note of that. I think positioning somebody right around here, so just to be that person, to be like, we're slowing down. I obviously put it up here to please drive slowly on campus, but I'm not sure, obviously people are going
Right.
to read that, but how much their foot goes down with the gas.
Portable speed bumps too. That
Okay.
we can
Do you
easily-
really?
Yeah, I have them here. That we
That's
can
right, you
use.
do.
So I can easily loan them for we have enough that I think we could place a couple.
That
Okay.
would be
I
great.
think that would help
Yeah,
out.
I just I've observed people exiting and coming in. Like people sometimes go a little faster than we should on campus. So I think anything we can do to kind of just keep an eye on and curb that, I think would be great. And then my only other question is concerning the access road in the back of the dirt. What's the anticipation of us wearing that down to the point of we have issues with tread and dirt and tearing up the property that's not paved?
Yeah.
What do we have any kind of? I mean, I know we're gonna try it. I love the idea because I hate sitting on that road. I hate there's some drop offs there on Townsend
know,
Hill
right?
that make
Like
me
right on the
nervous, and
side.
I'm like, so I appreciate this, but have we given any thought to what we can do to that access road to improve it, or to build it and bake it into a plan over the next couple of years to make sure that we don't destroy it?
Yeah, both great suggestions, and I know, and Gina, I'll have you weigh on this definitely. I have looked at that a lot. It's in really good shape right now, but I grew up in Vermont, and we didn't have our road paved for a while, and so, I remember those roads. I do know speed is a factor. If people are going slower on there, it's going to wear a lot slower, and that traffic is going to inch along, which is good. So
Okay.
I don't think we'll see, like, washboards or anything, but I think what we might see is, depending on how and this we're going to have to just keep a lookout. How much it rains, how much it erodes, are there some bumps on there that we never really noticed before because nobody's ever really driven that, but now that people are there, if it's on a spot where maybe a fire truck would go by but we don't notice it with the car. With this, I'm going to be hypersensitive with going out there at least once a week just to see how it's going
Okay.
and things like that. Even I'm usually positioned with dismissal, but we've got plenty of people there. That's the one I'm pretty concerned about. So I'll definitely go out multiple times to check
Okay.
it. But Gina and I talked about that as well.
Yeah, we spoke about that, and certainly you're going to be hearing our capital improvement plan discussion, and all of these changes were made post capital improvement plan. But that is something that we'll monitor, and if we need to move into paving it, then that
Okay.
will be part of the plan. I also wanted to address your first point. So I have reached out to some community members, specifically the chief of police, to share the concern about new traffic patterns and ensuring the safety of everyone involved. And so I have requested police presence
Okay.
as we open school and everyone gets back into the swing of things and learning a new pattern. So
Great.
hopefully between all of those we can ensure a safe start to
The
school.
other thing we're gonna add to is in September, so usually we have traffic safety month in April, but as the district, we decided to move it up to the front of the, into the beginning of the year because it's gonna set those expectations earlier.
Sure.
So, in September, there'll be, you know, to your point about the speeding, we'll be able to target that behavior too of the driving and such.
Perfect.
Chaz, what's your communication plan to parents so that they are aware of this change?
Yeah, so we sent it out with our most recent update. I also sent, which was 2 days ago, I think, 2 days ago. So we sent it out with that, talked with parents in person today, so new parents got it with the tours. And then I scheduled for Monday another thing just specifically to go out about carpool, to say, this is the new map, take a look at this. And then the first few days of school, I'm going to position people, and I'm probably going to be also doing this, as being out there for these spots just to make sure. And I bought signs so that there'll be signage right here where people will know you go there, and then other signs right down around here so that people know you just go straight and come around.
On Monday, I might recommend that you also make it a phone call to tell them to check, because somebody may miss
Oh,
email.
yeah, that's a good idea.
So if you leave a phone message and let them know the details are in their inbox.
It's a good idea.
Got it. Great. Oh, sorry.
So I just had one thought, first, I'm curious, have you considered going in the other direction to flow with like the natural pattern of traffic?
I had thought about that. The tricky part gets to where we would kind of come in and go out. And to me, when I thought about it visually, having kids be able to kind of come in the back and go in there is a little bit easier than them being dropped off in another way. And this way makes it so that these gates are not impacted at all. And then I have the easy entrance right into the top part of the building.
Okay.
That's why I chose that side.
I just have concerns about traffic accidents where they're crossing to go in and out. Like that's
Coming here, you're talking
yeah,
about?
and like people also pulling out of their parking spots into traffic coming when everyone else is going out. You know, everyone's coming in, and so that was just like a thought of, you know, you've got distracted parents, whatever, you know, and there's a lot of people going around, and it's that side of where the parking lot is, that is like the natural exit, and now you've got people crossing and coming
interesting.
out, you know, so it's just
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to be evaluating as we do it. But as he
Yeah.
mentioned, at the maximum capacity of cars that he saw on campus in Townsend Hill Road, they should be in the back of the building. So
if they all come at once.
no, but
Yeah.
maximum number he's seen over the course of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So if they all come at once,
Yeah,
there's
they're
still
still stacked
flow
up.
because carpool is before the buses
Right.
arrive. So trust me, I have
I get it.
studied carpool at Halls Primary with their project proposal more than I would ever hope to
Gotcha.
study carpool and fitting cars on campus. And so there's no perfect solution.
No, there's not.
But
Absolutely.
I think that this has a really great chance for
Yeah,
success.
I
And
think
then,
it's great,
You know,
yeah.
Chaz is absolutely going to monitor it and have eyes out there, and we have cameras too.
Yeah.
to be able to identify where the end of the line is and,
Sure.
you know, if we need additional support in a
That's great.
location, so.
As someone whose daughter rides her bike to school up Townsend Hill, it's fantastic. I love not having a bunch of cars sitting on that road. So, like, I think it's great, but, you know, I think it's wonderful to get them off that road. It's a miracle there hasn't been 100 accidents on that street,
Right.
so.
Is and I think, Lynn, like, you're against natural flow is like where I'm like my concern is right,
Right.
like people are coming out. So if we find that it does get
Yeah.
too congested, is there an entrance on the opposite side? I mean, kids are obviously
Yeah.
gonna have to walk further, but so be it if that's gonna create more of a safety issue. Do we have the ability to flip it if we need to and just put them in at the far end of the school?
There's some accessibility issues on that
Okay.
side.
Okay.
Just so you know, I mean, and so there may be some tweaks or things that we'd have to do for
Oh,
that
interesting.
piece. So accessibility's better on
Okay.
that front side, but it
That
doesn't mean
makes
it's
sense.
impossible, but just understand there's more dirt and
Yeah.
steps and uneven,
Terrain.
terrain, thank you,
Fair.
uneven
No.
terrain.
Could kids
So-
come out the front door?
I'm
Does
sorry?
they go, could kids come out the front door? I mean, would they
But
come
then
in the
you're
front door?
walking- Well, and you mean and have drop off at the end of that concrete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
The end of,
Yeah,
Right here.
so Chaz presented quite a few options.
Yeah, I
and we
believe
like
it.
definitely weighed the pros and cons of all of them. So I think we're gonna just based on conversations with emergency responders,
Yeah.
this one makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Nothing's.
I'm not trying to, I
Yeah.
think it's
No,
great.
no,
I'm
no,
not,
like,
yeah, yeah.
We'll,
It's good.
we'll try it, and we're certainly gonna assess
Sure.
and take a look.
So,
It's great.
So
I think it's a wonderful
appreciate you
idea.
guys doing this.
I just have two quick questions. So one, you said the buses come after, because that's my big concern, is like if you've got buses and cars trying to get, so buses come after
Yep.
carpool, so that should be, okay. Second of all, and I see this at RMMS as somebody who frequently has meetings that sometimes run into the end of school, you might want to section off like maybe those front parking spots and actually label them visitor parking. Because what happens at RMMS is you'll park and then everyone pulls in for a park and you are stuck.
I've been
and
stuck
then-
there multiple
And then
times.
everyone gets super mad and they're like, why can't I leave? And so we know you either park in the upper parking lot or you park, but we know that. So you might want to talk about that a little bit too, because if people have been used to parking in that lower lot for like say they have an IEP meeting that's running late or and now all of a sudden they're not going to be able to get out, you might want
they
to
should though, if
back,
if I'm
it
thinking
it
about
might,
what you're
you might
saying,
want to
right?
keep that on your radar.
Yeah,
'cause
there
that can
shouldn't be, and in fact, I can't have anybody
The cars
backed
should
into
stop
this.
by the dirt.
Yeah, because
Right, I don't
there,
like to
there
put
can't be
things past
standing
people.
traffic through that gate.
In regards.
So,
Okay.
the traffic, and that's why I measured it out with my car to make sure I just wasn't switching one for another, right? That this is a much longer distance than from here to about here. So
And it may
they were
very
able
well
to
be.
fit.
I just
So they'll stop
yeah.
right about there, which is good. So it
Okay.
really does. This model frees up that whole front parking.
They may
lot,
not be
right?
stopped there, but if people are, to Allison's point, driving through the parking lot while other people are trying to leave, I just wanted to put that on your radar that sometimes that can cause a little bit of a flow kerfuffle.
Absolutely.
So just
There
be
are
mindful.
never kerfuffles in carpool.
Yeah, there are never. I'm usually the one causing the kerfuffle, so I think I can speak to this. But I think just that's something I've noticed here, especially is that like, and then also like we've got that one-way exit here, right? So like, sometimes people are creeping out the wrong way to come back or coming in. So you just something to keep an eye on or have a flow of. I think my concerns about the dirt road are similar, so I think just keep an eye on that. And then I would say also, just as we're getting ready to go into budget season, if we are anticipating that you'll need more portable speed bumps, please put that in the budget so that we can make sure that we can appropriately plan for it, because just finances are tight for everybody. We want to make sure you guys get what you need for safety. The last thought I had is, would it be possible for us to talk with the town perhaps about borrowing one of their signs to just announce new traffic pattern? And have the town, because like given that, is that a state highway right there? Is Townsend Hill, is that a state? No, that's a state, okay. With police presence there, that it should certainly help, but I wonder if that could help too. Just like new traffic, just like flat, like we would use to announce like town meeting or whatever, like new traffic pattern just for like the first couple of days, that could be an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah, I can definitely look into, because just looking into ways that I can, the other thing, which is a bigger picture thing, but having people coming out of Massachusetts onto that
Yeah, you
road,
don't like-
coming down, and having really great signage,
Yeah.
even on the Massachusetts side, that says you're coming into something. So that's going to be something that's on my radar now that we've got this
Okay.
fixed.
Okay.
I'd like to figure out, let's
School zone.
talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might, and those can be sometimes more effective ways to just, at least for the first part, especially for people coming from Massachusetts, because I drive that way to work sometimes, and yeah, sometimes it's hard when you're on the hill and people aren't looking, and just having like the reader signs might help, at least just initially, I think, a little bit, if we can get them. Yeah.
Great, thank you for your feedback.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tracy.
It's okay.
There's a lot of conversation.
They have, we
It's okay,
have
no
that, the digital speed sign, right? But it's at the end of Townsend Hill, so I just wonder maybe if that's another thing where we could move it maybe more on the Massachusetts side of the school property, just so people coming down, or on the, whatever, you guys will figure it out. But, I just always thought that was a little strange that it was all the way down there. The other thing is, just to go back to the paraeducator for 1 second, I saw on the list that we had 4 hired, so I thought that was really great progress. I don't know if any other year we've been able to hire 4, so that reduces the number of contracted paras, so I thought that was really a great win. Already seeing, I think, the BESA contract paying off. And the other thing I just wanted to say is, it's Principal Miller's first year here, and so I just wanted to say thank you. It's your first year. You said you didn't make a lot of changes, which was funny because when I was thinking about saying something, I thought, people always tell you don't make a lot of changes in the first year, but the changes that you've made, I think, are so thoughtful and in line with the culture and the forward movement that we want with the school. So I just have to say thank you. And Dan, your tenure here is long, so I won't bring out any numbers of what number school year this is of yours, but is it 11?
I think
12. Okay, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for a dozen.
Thanks. Don't clap yet.
Well, wait, there's more.
Yeah, I gotta put myself in
Are we ready to move on to data dashboard? Yeah. Are we good? Okay.
I think so.
So I'd like to move on to the data dashboard. Something that we had been discussing for the past year, well, I've been discussing and working on with our director of technology, is a data dashboard. It's something that various board members have discussed over the past 11 years, and one of the exciting things that we had planned was putting one together to roll out for this school year. And so John Boucher is our director of technology. He's starting year 2, and he is absolutely a data guy. And so we are lucky to have him, and he's built a data dashboard for us. That was something that was brought forward by petition warrant article for both Co-op and Hollis. And while those were advisory in nature only, it was something we already had planned moving forward. So what we've been doing as an admin team is really figuring out what data should we have, what data is accessible, what data do we want to share, what data tells our story. There's a whole lot more data for Co-op than there are for elementary schools, but we still have data to show, and we never intend to hide it, but what's the best way to show it and to share it? So we have brought this to the Hollis board and the Co-op board, and now it's coming to you. August was data dashboard beta mode sharing for our boards, and so soon this will become public, but we wanted to take a moment for John to kind of walk you through it. So John.
Great, thank you for having me. So as Gina said, this is still a little bit of a beta, and I think I tweak this several times a week. Gina and I meet, and it's always going through little bits of adjustments. And as she said, it's always tricky to start one of these because you need to have data that's easily obtained and then digestible, and then it's all about how you present it. So this is what we have so far. It's I think intended to be a living document in the sense that 6 months from now we might decide, hey, there's something else that should be on this data dashboard. So it's a starting point. And so this is what we have. It starts with a welcome screen and basically just walks through what all the pages are about. It talks very, very briefly about what you would find on each page with links when appropriate to where the data is collected, typically through the DOE. So if you've ever tried to look at the DOE for any sort of data, I don't know if it's difficult by design or by accident, but it's really hard to navigate. And if you're trying to look for, you know, a specific district or a specific school, it's extremely hard to navigate. So I do have links so people can get the bigger picture if they want. But down the left-hand side are the pages that we currently have up. The first one is state testing. So this gives a little bit of an overview about how our districts and schools perform in state testing. We did go back a few years so that we can start to see a trend. And then the intention is every year it would just add. And at some point, things will trail off because you can have definitely too much and there's data overload. The top part of the screen talks about historic district data. So Brookline grades 3, 4, 5, 6. This is state testing on percent proficiency. The left chart is about math. The right chart is about ELA. And so you can see the percent proficiency from 2023 on to 2025. The data here is typically released by the state late fall, early winter. And so it's we're still waiting for the public display of the data from the 2026 administration. Scrolling down gives a different look at the data kind of in perspective of other districts in the area. So we picked a handful of districts geographically close to us, socioeconomically close to us. And so math, ELA, and science are displayed here. I know it's small and far away from you over there on the screen, but on a computer it's much clearer. You can pick a year and you can pick a grade. And when you do that, the data refreshes. Hollis and Brookline and Co-op, when applicable, are highlighted, and the state is also highlighted. So Hollis and Brookline are in blue, the state data is in gray, and it ranks from 1 all the way down to 19 for these. If we pick a grade like grade 5, science data is collected in grade 5, so the science data populates as well. So we can see where we are kind of overall. You can also go back a few years on this as well.
That's great.
The next page is enrollment data. So this takes a look at how we are doing enrollment-wise by year. So 24-25 is the last year we've reported. You can also, 25-26. Is the last year. We'll be updating this at the start of the school year. But we can see Brookline is on the left, Hollis is in the middle, Co-op is on the right. Our grades span across the bottom, and we can see what the enrollment was by grade level. We can also scroll down the page and take a look at what the enrollment was by school. So if we're interested in RMMS, going back to the 22-23 school year, 326, 329, 309, 301. That just brings us from year to year to year. Again, this would just grow as we collect more data. These two pages are really applicable to all three districts, and the remaining pages, which I'll go through very quickly, are more focused on the co-op. Like Gina said, there's a little bit more data there to take a look at. But we have athletics data, where if people are interested in looking by sport, if we want to look at girls soccer, for instance, both HBHS and HBMS participants by school year, so we can see what the trend is there. We can also take a look at percent of students that actually participate in athletics. And so we also track total team participants versus unique student participants, because students tend to do more than one sport, so they get counted multiple times. We have a page currently for co-curricular related courses at the middle school and high school. So this is really chorus and band. We can take a look at participants in those activities, and very similar to athletics, and the percentage of students overall that are taking those types of courses. And then our final page is graduation data, so we can take a look at what's the HBHS graduation rate, and I also have the state graduation rate underneath that, so we can take a look at that comparison as well. So that's where we are right now. And one of the questions that we've been asked, and maybe it's a question you've been thinking about, is where are we going to put this on our website? And so the thought right now is at the SAU page. There's an Our District drop down. We're thinking right in here for the data dashboard. It matches pretty much every single school that has an Our School tab, and right in here as well.
So quick question on the state testing one, is it possible to get the bar graph, like is that, because that's like a lot of numbers and they're all very similar colors, even though ours is highlighted and they're not, is it possible to get like bar graphs like there is with the enrollment data, or even just like an additional visual? Because I don't know, when I'm looking at it, this feels much easier for me to read than the state testing does. Does that make sense?
Can you repeat it one more time?
So kind of just like this, how these are like color coded and they're visually like it's easier to kind of track. Whereas like when you look at the state testing right now, like those are all very similar colors to me. They're very difficult. Like it's harder to read. So if I'm kind of like looking through it, and not me personally, I read everything, ask Dan, but like my policy committee book I read all the time, but this one, if I'm scanning through it, it's a lot harder to read. So I'm wondering if there's a way to make it a little more visually.
Yep, so it kind of depends on what it is that
Okay.
you're looking for visually, and this is why we've been talking about it for a year.
Yeah.
Because depending on who you are, you want to see it a different way.
Right.
And that's part of the challenge. So right here, this is simply percent proficient.
Okay.
As a bar graph, I don't know that you're going to have a bunch of bars that maybe you want to compare by year. Are you looking for a bar? So typically in the annual report, I used to, and now Dot does this, we report out grade in comparison to the state. And so then that limits the scope, because there's so much data that it can become cumbersome and very much unreadable and not digestible for anybody when you put it all in there. So this is looking at years over time.
Okay.
But if you want a bar graph, you're really looking at a singular year.
Okay.
Another thing that we were looking at is, does it help to provide context by also sharing the parent opt-out rates, because this is representative of a fraction of the whole. And so maybe that's another data point that would be helpful, just as information. And so we're certainly taking feedback from all the boards to figure out what would help you, and could we share this data another way. One in our hidden beta site, so we have this one and then like secret ones, where we're also looking at tracking cohort data. So for the class of 2028, what have they been doing over time? For the class of 2035, what are they? Is there growth? Because in any one year, does it matter so much what fourth grade does, or does it matter how third grade grew into fourth grade? Like, are they growing? And so that's a little bit trickier to display, but I think it's really important data. Is it understandable? So your feedback is very much welcome, and we're contemplating and redesigning and re-looking at it. And every time I talk about it, John wants to probably push it.
I even just wonder, for me, like if just looking at this, if we could highlight our districts in like a different color, because to me they're just very similar. So what if they were like green? That would help me, I think. So that's my it's just like visually looking at it. So like when I'm looking at the highlights, because that makes total sense what you're saying about like you don't want to overload it. But like the state in gray, like they're all gray and white and blue. So if there was maybe a little more contrast, I feel like it would be easier for me to at least pinpoint the pertinent data. And to your point, Gina, I actually do think that the opt-out rates might be very helpful, because I think when we're looking at it, it can be easy to lose sight of the fact that this is not everybody in the school. So I think that might actually be helpful to at least, or note that there are opt-outs happening.
And that's actually what I think probably the most recent piece we've added to this chart. And again, it's really hard to see from where you are, and you're really far away. This middle column is percent proficient. This second third column is actually percent participation.
Forgot you already added that.
Yeah. Okay, I was
So
like,
that
yeah, no, I
came from
cannot do
feedback from another board,
Yeah.
and we added it in.
Okay.
But of course, then we're balancing, when we add that in, that's a lot more to look at visually. And so there's, as Gina said, there's always this give and take between
Maybe
what's just too much visually versus not enough. And then you just start adding more and more and more and more, and then it just gets too cumbersome, and we kind of defeat
So I
the
say
purpose.
let's skip the
it's
bar
a balance.
graphs and maybe make it green. It would be easier for me to read.
I think this is awesome. I really do. It's a great way to get the data right to the public. The questions always come up at town meeting, and sometimes there's misleading information that's handed out, and I think having a place where the public can go and just see it right for themselves, I think is wonderful. So I think this is great. Dead on, good idea. Real quick question, just because I can't see it. Is there a definition of what proficient is?
Yeah, so
I just can't see it. I'm sure it's
percent
up there.
proficient is level 3s and 4s on the
And
state test.
how do we define that? Like, I just don't.
When you get your results back from the state, you are given a level of 1, 2, 3, or 4. 3 and 4 is considered proficient.
So
Okay. Is it on there though? Is what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
So up,
Yeah.
actually up at the top, I think I
Even
added.
with my glasses, I
added
can't read
within
it.
the past probably 3 hours. Percent proficient is percent of students
Yeah.
receiving 3 or 4.
And just to further clarify that, as he mentioned, like parents, the student takes it, the parent gets it, the result, they can access it that night, right? And so we, as a school, can see how individual students perform. However, over the summer, there are 2 rounds that I have to review our entire district data and identify any concerns or anomalies that I need to identify for them to review. Like I said, that's 2 rounds of that. And then there's an embargo data file that I get in October, and then that's the final chance to identify and that's by cohort, by boys, girls, special ed population, all the different groups, and that's the first time I get to see all of that, including state level data. And then once that cycle is complete, then it becomes public data. So although families are like, no, I know how they did in 2026. You know how individual students do, but you don't know how they do in comparison to the state. And that marker of the 3 or the 4 isn't determined until they look at everything. So it's sort of a little bit of a moving target, and it's adjusted annually. So that's about the full description we can provide.
And we can't release embargo data.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
And also, are there links to like the actual data on? Like, is there notations? Just
Yes,
so
so
if
at the
someone wants to know
overview,
where it comes from.
If somebody was interested, like let's
Oh,
say
okay,
specific
yep.
state data,
Right.
they can click on the NOE, DOE site, and they get brought to the New Hampshire statewide assessment
Perfect.
system. They can go back many, many years, but it's a jungle.
I know.
It's
I've
really
been
hard
on
to
it,
navigate.
too, yeah.
And we were intentionally trying to find data that was accessible, because you can find for enrollment data. We're looking at what we report in the BOY. It's called beginning of year data. Any day throughout the year, the enrollment can change. You have move-ins, move-outs, etc. But by maintaining a consistent point at which we're collecting that data, there's a known point. It's available in the state, and that's what we're using. So it's not just a moving target for that.
That's awesome. I like the cohort though
Yeah.
idea, because I think that this can be, when you both started talking about that, I feel like it can be a little I don't think you realize, like, you could be looking at 3rd grade and see that the next year they went down, but where do they start from, right? So following an actual grade or an actual class is more helpful to see whether it's the class is progressing or or not. So
Yeah.
I have 2 quick questions. And first, I want to say thank you, because I know the type of work that went into building this, so deeply appreciate it. When this needs to be updated with current data, is that a manual update that we have to make sure that we're doing, or are we able to automate this?
Sure.
that
So
as
that's a
data
great
comes out?
question, because as the person that's in charge of the dashboard, that's my number 1 concern, right?
Right.
There's a lot of great ideas, but if it becomes really cumbersome to keep up to date,
That's my concern.
things fall by the wayside, right?
Yes.
So the answer is both yes and no. On the back end of this, I have automated a lot of it. So
Great.
that the data set is really big and really wide, and so that if Gina says, hey, we actually now want to include, I don't know, more districts that we take a look at, or we want to break it down by certain demographics or something like that, it's already in there to be able to manipulate. To get it in there, I will wait for the state to publish the data if it comes
Okay.
from the state, and then it's as few clicks as possible for me to
Perfect.
grab it, put it where it needs to be, and then I've written a lot of formulas and scripts in the background that will take that and move it to where it needs to go. So
Yeah, that was
yes,
my
there is
concern.
manual,
Yep. Okay.
but it's at a minimum.
Perfect. And then my other question is, I would love to be able to give you feedback on this, but I can't see it. Would it be possible for us, I know it's not public, would it be possible for you to share it with us, individual board members, so we can take a better, closer look around and maybe give you some more valuable feedback than just seeing it from afar?
So we are launching it on Wednesday.
No later than.
Yeah, no later than Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Um,
Okay. So,
So, but like I said, it's evolving. We already know
Okay.
we're going to be building additional things, but and that's the other thing. It's easier to add more data than to have something there and then take it away,
Correct.
right? Because then it seems like we're hiding something when really maybe it was cumbersome, it didn't display great, or the data no longer exists, etc.
sure.
So we have what we have here that is visible in the beta site is what we feel we are absolutely going to be sharing. And so we're not thinking that we're all of a sudden not going to have state level data or enrollment data or things like that.
Sure.
How we can present it.
Well, I think that's more like I'm not necessarily, I don't want to pull apart the data, but just from from here, okay, you have charts, you've got some bar chart, it looks great, but some of the more minutiae details are some of the explanations that, like, I wouldn't mind having an opportunity to just kind of read through it, and just from somebody who hasn't seen it, and you guys have been really close to it, would I don't want to, like, QA almost, just kind of give us an opportunity to give you some extra feedback, like Lynn was saying, like, are the links there? Yes, they are. Is there, what does 3-4 mean? Like, maybe there are some questions that we may have after we're able to actually put closer eyes on it that maybe we haven't thought of, that might be valuable for a parent who isn't, or a community member who isn't up on school terminology or something like that, to maybe just say, hey, it might be helpful to clarify X, Y, or Z. And I mean, to your point, yes, if it's going to be live, we can do that then, but I just didn't.
Yeah,
Just
so
wanted to ask.
John and I are meeting about this again tomorrow in preparation of the launch date. So why don't we talk about it? What my hesitation is that the other boards didn't have the direct link. So we'll talk about how we maybe share it with all 17 board members and give a window of opportunity for pre-launch feedback that would, and just understand that some feedback, obviously there's a typo, great, we'll fix that. But there might be a reason why we don't incorporate it, or it might just take longer, and maybe that, evolves over time.
Sure.
Is your plan to, once you do post it, send out like a parent square for everybody?
It's already prepped.
Already prepped. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Great job.
Just
Thank
one question, sorry. The framework for this dashboard is focused on enrollment data and like student data. I just want to understand kind of if we are thinking or talking in the community and someone says, I'd really love to know this data, or sometimes there are presentations where there is lots of financial data tied to student outcome data. And so I just want to make sure that this is just kind of student enrollment type data.
It's essentially student performance data. However, we have toyed around with what about something that the state collects is we have to report out on our students, our teacher level of education. So how many teachers have a master's degree? How many teachers have coursework beyond that? Is that something that's valued? We also talked about reporting out on per pupil expenditure in comparison to other districts. That is on the main page already, but do we want to include it here? So we're looking at what's data just to have data versus
Right.
what's helpful and maybe not easily findable and would be valued by the community. In addition to the parent square, because that is limited to parents, it's also posted publicly, but if you're not looking for it, you're not going to get it.
Right.
We're also putting page pops on the website, so it's like, there it is, and with a tutorial on how to find it. So,
Did we talk about a way to put a link on the town page to the, to anything?
so that would be up to the town.
Okay,
It
maybe
is-
our
they're
school,
not
maybe
easy.
our select board liaison will,
Yeah, I've reached out to the town several times on this, and it has Lynn. and we have not been successful in being able to link the SAU website and the town website
There's
together.
no school information on the town
Yeah,
website.
and we've requested it, and we've hit brick walls with that, so.
But we
um,
can keep trying.
We will keep trying,
Persevere.
so, for sure. But yes, that, yeah, okay. Anything else to the data dashboard?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
This
much.
is-
Thank
this is
A lot of work.
All right.
I know.
At this point, it is 6:55 p.m. I am gonna open, the floor for public input. Do not believe we have any members of the community here specifically for public input, but if you're here for that, I will invite you forward at this time. Otherwise, we'll start the clock. Okay, I do, if the board is agreeable, we have a member of the Brookline Finance Committee here and a member of the Brookline Select Board here because they wanted to be here the capital improvement plan, and I would like to invite them if they would like to come up and sit a little closer. That way, if they have questions about it, they are free to ask. Is the board agreeable to inviting them to allow them to engage
100%.
and ask questions kind of as part of our group? Okay. If you guys would like to, you're welcome. We have a seat over here and a seat at the end of the table here. If not, you're free to stay there while we do capital improvement. But we appreciate the town's collaboration with our school. So Kate, Brendan, thank you very much for joining us. All right. So with that, I will
Hang
move
on.
on. Sorry.
Sorry, just to clarify, we are both members of the Finance Committee, there's no Select Board members here?
I apologize. I thought you were coming as behalf of the select board.
No, I've been off the Select Board for a year now.
My apologies. I am
Yeah,
kidding.
that's
So we
okay.
have two members of our Brookline Finance Committee here.
Right, and.
I apologize. I'm
that's
human.
okay. Brendan Dempsey and Kate Elkins.
Yep.
And for the record, this makes a quorum of the Finance
Right,
Committee,
oh.
but we've not noticed that we're having a meeting, so we're both here as individual members of the Finance Committee. We cannot make decisions on behalf of the Finance Committee.
Understood, but we would like you are
Absolutely.
both welcome if you have questions as we go through this. I invite you to just ask at will because you are part of our process, so we do welcome you.
We will not ask you to make any decisions.
No decisions.
But I will ask you to allow Lance to present from where
From
you're
where
sitting.
Yeah,
Oh, Lance, come on up.
yep.
It's your time.
Brendan, if you want to come sit over here next to Dan, you can. Yeah. And then Kate, if you
Yeah,
need
you
to
can
move
sit
closer,
next to
feel
Dan.
free. Okay.
So we have Lance Finnemore here, our Director of Facilities. I was going to say Technology. I think that's not his title.
Please don't. No, thank you. Oh man, Okay, perfect. Can you hear me? All right. Thank you all. I don't know if Brendan was here. Hi, Brendan. I didn't see you behind me. So I was asked to come 2 months ago. I didn't attend the meeting, so I apologize. And I apologize in advance because I was told last week I'm a slow talker. So I thought that was funny. It's not. So I present to all the boards it's a facilities update / capital improvement plan overview. So I'll try to be as brief as I can, as quick as I can. But of course, if you want to interrupt, feel free. Ask any questions you like. So when we're talking about Brookline school facilities, and this whole presentation as a whole, my objectives are to inform you all of the updates with facilities and also the longer-term capital improvement plan. And when we talk about the capital improvement plan in general, it's questions you usually get are how do we come up with the methodology and the areas of impact and areas that need improvement, and how do we come up with those, and where do we get our input from? And that input comes from building administration, district maintenance personnel, our facility staff, obviously as the superintendent, other administrators, and also outside sources. It could be the town, it could be vendor, whatnot, input, public input. And also we use a tool internal to the SAU. It's called the Facility Audit Tool. That's a spreadsheet that goes over multiple facets of a building infrastructure, whether that be HVAC, plumbing, electrical, you name it. And we go through and we assign numbers to each of the criteria, each item on the facilities audit tool. So that's kind of a tool that we've used to record keep our updates and our capital improvement plan going forward. So attention areas, I like to hit the attention areas to each school, each district. Brookline is very easy for me to include attention areas because there's a lot. So it's very broad. It wasn't my intention to be very broad, while also being specific. But as you can see, HVAC is very near and dear to my heart in RMS because we have a system that's very unique. We have residential boilers that encompass the whole heating infrastructure here. I'll look to you, Dan. There's eight boilers. Yes, there's 8 boilers total. So seeing that change into something similar to what we've done in other buildings across the district, across the SAU, is something that we're striving for. Also, this building, RMS in general, it's an old building. It's been around for a long time. We've done a lot of renovations here. So it's aging. I don't know if I'll say it a lot this meeting, but aging, end of life is a constant theme here. And also building and grounds, paving has been a concern over the last few years. CSDA is kind of opposite spectrum, but the thing with CSDA is it's a 26-year-old, 27-year-old building now. So a lot of that original equipment inside that building is approaching that end-of-life aging infrastructure. So same thing over there. We replaced the boilers last year, which was a great improvement to the building and the heating in general. But there are other units, other ventilation units in CSDA that are original. So again, you're talking 25 plus years. And a lot of the times I get questions about aging, end of life, and I usually try to say the same thing because that's my philosophy is you don't need to replace it. It's not a mandatory thing, and I hate saying it, if it goes tomorrow, it goes tomorrow. Or if it goes in 10 years, it goes in 10 years. So, let's knock on wood. I hate saying things because my life here just seems like a jinx every time I say something. And then we have portables over there as well, which are not 25 years old, but they're getting up there. And depending on how you feel about portables, mixed bag. Let's talk about the capital improvement plan in general. Again, this plan, in my previous career, we talk about quotes, how quotes are gold. You can't change them. This capital improvement plan is the opposite. It changes a lot as different needs arise and whether something doesn't need replaced or does need to be replaced. So I like to tell everyone it's a constant flowing plan that changes. And a lot of the numbers on this plan are rough ballparks. But I'm gonna tap myself on the back and say I've gotten really good at estimating in my career. So the Brookline capital improvement plan is a little different from our other capital improvement plans because we do have other criteria, which I didn't include here because it didn't fit. It's probably really small. don't know if I can make it bigger. Make it a little bigger there. But, I mean, I could see that, but I got pretty good vision. So, RMS, we try to include the most we could include. And again, in my previous experience here, it's been 5-year outlook. We're trying to have a greater outlook, even though that's very difficult. So you will see things that are far out that we're trying to capture the best we can with that timeline, which I know that's the intention, to have a greater outlook. And so we are going to try to accommodate that the best we can. But yeah, what I didn't include in here is a slide on the Brookline School Facilities Committee, which we formed, I don't know, a while ago. And we're tackling a lot of these issues in that committee, and how we can further proceed to, I'm not going to call it a dilemma, but our issues with the building here, and how we want to proceed, giving all our restraints, I will say. So, and I can, let's see, I don't know if so don't be scared by the slide. Everyone always, I did this slide, my first presentation years ago with Kelly Seeley. And my understanding was always we try to make it as even and as less scary as possible. So as you can see, for fiscal 27, our total is 61,000. That's current fiscal year. Because of our restraints, that's what we have. Next year, we're shooting for 1.75, and so on. And again, I tried to do a 10-year outlook, but we did 9. Oh well. So, scary numbers, but if anyone has $1 billion, I'm all ears. And that is my brief capital improvement plan presentation. Fire away.
Thank you, Lance. So I just want to comment that, we've started budget rounds. We're already moved past round 2 internally. And obviously, the capital improvement plan is something that is a significant dollar portion of all of our budgets. And the question is, and this is the question the facilities committee is tackling, to continue as is not really sustainable. We had the fire last year in the boiler room. Like having 8 residential boilers is not really acceptable for a school building of this size. The question is, does this school building continue to meet the needs of a school of this size? Because the next appropriate step is to look at creating a centralized boiler plant with two appropriately sized boilers to run the entire school, so that we don't have multiple heating systems running off of various boilers at any one time, leaving our school with wings that are cold on any given time, moving classrooms, etc. So how do we tackle that? And that's just step 1, right? There's so many components of this building that would need significant upgrades to continue as a school building. We also are aware of the needs of the town, and the needs of the town facilities is also significant. And so the conversations that we started having in our facilities meeting is there a way to collaborate and have a joint effort moving forward for the greater good of Brookline? Do we continue to run like parallel solo paths? Do we think outside of the box, or do we just think this is the building, let's renovate, let's move forward? And obviously those all have significant budget implications. So how do we support each other? And so that's where and then how do we do so with the tax cap? So there's just a lot of big questions we have to determine before we can really be very specific about what are we doing with that 10-year outlook.
I didn't say any of that, but that was, I would have said it that way. That was excellent, thank you.
So any questions?
I feel like we need, there's not a lot of information here. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of information here, but I don't feel like I'm getting an understanding of what our specific needs are. Even just looking at this, like I don't even know what to ask because I don't even know what information, I'm gonna need to sit on this, I think, because I feel like there's more that needs to be said here that was not covered in this presentation, that we need to be aware of if we're gonna be making decisions going forward.
What decision are we making right now?
No, not right now, but we're getting ready to start budget in a couple of months, right? And so I think, with just kind of things that are coming down the road, I want to make sure I'm informed. And I don't know, I feel like, is it okay if I sit on it and then can I email you? Like, is that okay? Okay, I just want to make sure that I understand before I
It's
just
a brief
start.
overview.
Well,
Yeah,
I
we are
don't think
not
this is our
asking-
first time gonna
Yeah.
be looking at this.
We're not asking for a decision right now. If you
no,
had
I'm
questions,
not-
you can ask them, but certainly, he's always
Yeah.
available. But I wanted to share with you that the purpose of the facility committee is to really go deep
Yeah.
and dive into these so that the committee can make a recommendation back to the board, which you can do whatever you want with at that time. But then you get really the more of the well thought out recommendation of this is what we think makes most sense for us. But like I said, the committee's kind of grappling with, gosh, there are a lot of needs in the town,
Yeah.
and are they competing? Are they complementary?
Yeah, and that'll make sense. And I don't want to make any decisions tonight. I think I also just though, as much as we try not to be scared by slide number 9, that was those were a lot of numbers.
My favorite
It is a little terrifying. So I think I just need to, I'm just trying to kind of also make sure though that I'm asking the appropriate questions so that I can fully understand, so that, because if these are all very important needs, which looking at the state of the buildings, it seems like they are, we just want to make sure, to Gina, to your point, that we are operating as a team with the town, given what we're all facing, since it's all coming from the same people who live here.
It's the same bank account.
I'm gonna do a free advertisement for the school, Brookline School Facilities Committee. If you want your head to spin, you should stop by in a meeting.
I would not like my head to
Well, no, because we talk about, it is, but we talk about a lot of different things and we go,
And there's pie in the sky kind of conversations.
Is there actual pie though? That's the question. I think you'd get more people if you brought pie to the meetings. Yeah.
I think Gina makes a good point though, because I'm on that committee as well, and I think the biggest thing is there's so many competing interests with the town.
Yeah.
What the needs of the town are and what the needs of the school are. So I think there's a lot more discussion there.
Paramount was kind of a boogeyman, what is this equal? And so I do find it helpful that you've broken out, you have it broken out by year, but identifying all the different projects that potentially, ideally, we would need to do. So I do find that helpful. I understand that, we're not trying to make any decision, thankfully, tonight, but I thought it was kind of helpful just to see some type of numbers as to kind of what this would look like, big picture.
I forgot you had a copy of this.
Yeah, it's in the board packet,
Right,
so they can
so-
see it closer up.
We try to be as specific as possible, but also kind of broad. Because again, I don't want to make it overwhelming, obviously. But there is a lot to be done, unfortunately.
You had a slide that had the three
Yeah,
kind of
slide
3
7.
priorities. Is that
Those aren't the
based?
highest priorities.
Ah,
Or,
okay.
or ordered by priority.
Oh,
That's just
okay,
a
okay.
rough-
So I'm wondering if we have the asset management tool, and then we have the capital improvement plan. Do those work together so that we know on the asset management plan the boiler is 1,000 years old, and then that moves over to the capital improvement plan? Is
Yeah.
there a way that those things should talk?
Yeah, well, they do, yeah.
And then
That's-
so then, I guess, how would we, if we wanted to evaluate our 3 top priorities at both schools, could we look at the asset management tool and our CIP and then come up with 3 big buckets of needs?
So that's based on the years, right? So if you go to the, can you move to the slide, next slide?
Which one?
Yeah, so based on the facility audit tool, that sort of tells you where that might become a problem. And, you know, some of it, the reason we've gotten to where we are is because in my 11 years in central office, it's like, can't afford that, let's move to the next year, can't afford that, let's move. And so a lot of things have moved to the next year. And then, or, you know, we tried for the CSDA boiler before, and it didn't pass. And then, you know, a year and a half ago, it did pass. So we were finally able to like move forward from there. So things build up, but the order at which, if you see them in 28 versus 29, we're saying that the facility audit tool is calling that like the area for attention. But some of these are quite expensive, and they're not necessarily, while we can break them up into years, they're not necessarily or shouldn't necessarily be considered in isolation, because if the moment we decide, and let's say the community supports it, that we need to invest $2 million to redo the boilers here, then we're committing ourselves to continue to do additional work. And it's also a tough ask to say, hey, every year we're just going to ask for a few $1 million. That's not reasonable. And how do you package them and make it manageable and so my big thing is, before we even embark on that journey, we have to, everyone here, the board, administration, the facilities committee, finance committee, et cetera, agree that pathway makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think what I would find super useful is really looking at the facilities tool and the capital improvement plan, trying to bucket into those, like, is it HVAC, is it general building, is it, you know, grounds, and then seeing what projects are under those and the years.
Okay.
And then really, I would hope that would help inform at least my future outlook of how we either want to renovate, you know, and keep these buildings in the use that they are, or look at other options. Coming from a construction family, once you start tearing down walls, you find 1,000 problems. And so sometimes renovation is great, sometimes new building is great. But just, I think, to your point, Gina, that high level strategic direction of what is the right path? Is it working with what we have or thinking creatively?
I think the facility audit tool was born because somebody knew I was coming here in the future. I've only been here 6 years. And they knew I needed to do 17 different projects in a short amount of time, in the summer window. And anything that goes wrong any day during the summer could impact the opening of school.
Yeah, we're really pushing our middle school to open on Monday.
But everything's going to be great.
It's going to happen. We're going to be good.
I do have a question. Oh, sorry, Brendan. Why is this current fiscal year so low as compared to the future?
I love that question. That's the best question I've received.
Yeah,
in 6
so
months.
we have a tax cap, and in fiscal year 27 we had a teacher contract, and then we also had the default budget was the approved budget. So items that potentially, so the budget, we really started off with bare bones as you can be, because we knew we had the teacher contract and the support staff contract, I should say. And then anything that did last through the budget, I then had to pull over $400,000 out. So that's what we were left with. A floor machine and a couple other things.
Okay.
Our new items are way more than that, obviously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I agree with Tracy. I think if there was even just another column that had those buckets of HVAC, grounds, and buildings, that would be really helpful to see where each one lies. And I don't want to say how I feel about these numbers, but it is really jarring, and I don't know that the town has an appetite for it right now, and so I don't have a solution, but I think voicing that isn't, we all know that. I don't think I'm saying anything new. So this is really difficult for me to see because I know that we need these basic amenities to make our schools run. I just don't
lot.
know.
It's a lot.
Yes, and I think, I don't know if Brendan wanted to add, but
So, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Microphone? We were talking earlier about how to try to manage this, and I'm looking at the way the town manages capital improvements, which is it goes to the departments bring it into the capital improvements committee, which is a smaller group, and the capital improvements committee comes back with priorities. So they look at all the things that the different departments come in, and they list them. There's several of them, but the top ones are urgent, got to be done right now. Necessary is needed to maintain the basic levels, desirable to help improve the levels, deferrable, and then there's a couple in progress ones. But that might help if you look at these. What are the critical things, the urgent things that if it breaks tomorrow, you can't open the school? And what are the urgent, so on. The other observation I would make is I'm wondering if it would be helpful as not a thought exercise, but as a sharing with the public, the way you were talking earlier, that as part of the budget process going into this year, every year we as a resident, I come in and I say, this is what this year's needs are. If we saw, this is what 5 years' needs are, and this is what we're asking for this year, because they are urgent, they are necessary.
So I agree. I think it would be helpful to see groupings. I think it would be helpful to see urgent can do withouts, right? I think having that understanding would be better. Kate, I agree with you. I don't know that those numbers are jarring, and I don't think there is an appetite in town at the moment, given how generous the community was, particularly last year with our budget and our contracts. I think it's going to be heavy. I know we're getting into budget season, and I know there has been some, and I apologize because I'm not an expert on how we handle all of our funds. But like, I know our contingency fund is now, we cannot hold one anymore. We have
Retained
to
fund
give,
balance,
we cannot hold money for a case of emergency. So my wondering, and maybe I'm preemptively asking this, maybe it's already been thought about, but if we know we have, 2, 5, 10-year needs potentially coming up, one thing I would urge the facilities committee and or an education for us on is how do we create a fund that we can ask the town to add to in smaller amounts over time to get to these urgent in year 3, right? Potential needs where we can hold the money and we can contribute slowly over time. And I believe this was brought up at our deliberative session from one of our community members of why are we asking for the full amount now? Why are we not trying to build up, and why are we not trying to do our due diligence? And I would like us to find a way, if that is possible, through looking at this in more depth of a way to start saving to then be able to apply later. And I don't know that
We do. We have a maintenance trust.
Okay.
Last year we didn't move any money into the maintenance trust because we have a tax cap and the amount of money that we had was budget and contracts.
Yep.
So we were really limited in scope last year. And so there are two ways to think about that. And then if you look back to the year before, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place.
It's okay.
We had a maintenance trust warrant article. Typically, we look to fund that with a fund balance. We were looking to have a negative fund balance. So on the floor at deliberative, a motion was made to switch the funding source to taxation. And that passed, but the amount to go into the maintenance trust was reduced. By doing so, that was great because we were able to get the money in the maintenance trust, but it was less than. And so one of the RMS roof project had to be deferred because we didn't have enough money to do it. So we do have a maintenance trust, and we have been using it regularly. Last year was the first year, I think in 10 years we didn't put that forward. One thing to consider as we're no longer able to retain funds and as the retained fund balance, and those would be more emergency use available if we needed it and we don't have that. What we could do is make a request for the maintenance trust to be funded by fund balance. We typically run a very tight budget every year, but if we had a fund balance, and potentially look at requesting maybe more than we would have requested in the event that we had funds at the end of the year, and be very transparent and state that this is what we're looking to spend from the maintenance trust this year. The additional dollars would be utilized to build up the balance for some of these larger ticket items long term. So we use it two ways. One way for annual needs, which is what we've been doing, in addition to saving if we had a fund balance.
So right, so I understand the maintenance trust. I'm thinking more specific. Maybe you can earmark within the trust that you can only pull out for $1 million for the boilers in 28 or 29, whatever we're looking for, right? Like, I was thinking more of like project specific funds that we can build up that's what we can only be used for.
Yep. So we say that we would like to move X number of dollars into the maintenance trust. These are the things we need to purchase. We then have to hold a public hearing, and the board has to identify specifically in June and vote on it what it is that we can actually spend it on. And to my knowledge, we've never changed it. We maybe have requested less than maybe what we shared in March, just based on the actual funds available. But Hollis is currently doing this. Co-op just finished this for a big ticket item like an elevator. That's a huge cost. And so we know that the elevator is end of life. For example, our high school elevator is being redone September 12th. And what we did was every year for 5 years, we earmarked $68,000 to go into the trust so that we could gather enough in year 5 to be able to repair the elevator, because we knew it was a larger ticket item. So yeah, we did say this is elevator funds, and we just left it there.
Where did the 68,000 come from? Was it surplus?
Yep. But we asked for, let's say, $300,000 to go into the maintenance trust. This is for co-op. Every year, and then within the $300,000, there were a bunch of different items.
So it was a warrant article. Oh,
It's a
got
warrant
it.
article,
Okay.
yeah. And
Got it.
68,000 of it was specifically for the elevator. Then maybe we had, new flooring and the middle school. All the same. It's the same process that we do. It's just the scope is larger.
I just want to say, I think this is really great and a productive conversation. I think there'll be more to come. I think while the community was generous, or, they did pass the contracts, the budget did not pass. And so I think that goes to show, I don't know, it goes to show many things. But this situation where we are in right now, it does feel a lot like we've kicked the can down the road, like everyone likes to say, and now we're kind of in that, like, our pants are on fire. But I really do want to say, and I hope we take a breath, take a step back, engage with the town, because of course we know that we have needs there for a library, a town hall, a this, a that, and just to be better partners, because the schools are part of the community. Obviously, we use them for voting, so that there can be a strength in numbers, and a real cohesiveness. So we can, I don't know, I think we can we can do more together.
Yep, I would agree.
So kind of this, I think, has helped clarify. I think it would absolutely be helpful for budget planning, and for me specifically, to order by priority. If we can do that in some way, shape, or form, I do think, and I think that would help the community understand priority. Like, I know, at least for myself as a community member. The other question I actually have for you, Lauren, is, are there things that need to be considered in terms of accessibility that either we were okay to be grandfathered in, but now we're not, like things like that? Because I do think that also, because that might bump something from a non-priority to a priority if we're going to have to address it for accessibility. So I don't know if you have that answer off the top of your head, but is that something that we need to be?
We've done a lot of that work
Okay.
already. in the past
Okay.
3
So we're not
3
at risk
years.
of being-
So you're not at risk of higher numbers like this to
Okay.
deal with
To
accessibility.
deal with accessibility, okay.
As it still exists. There's still a few more tweaks that have to be made, but we largely tackled this the past 3 years, Lens?
Okay.
3 to 4?
Is there a
Yep.
time limit on when those tweaks have to be made, or are we
No,
grandfathered
it's just
in
as
we
as
can?
facilities and such need it. It's not like these main areas of.
Okay, I mean, I think for me too, just knowing whether or not that is an issue would be helpful
Yeah.
in those conversations going
Sure.
forward. So
No,
that
and as
can
we
make
have those
sure we're-
conversations, we'll let Lance and I will bring those forward. But we've been
Perfect.
working a great deal on this, and we started in our RMS and CSDA with that project.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can I just ask what year was the school built? What year was the building?
This one right here?
19.
Yeah.
So it's had 4 phases.
4 phases.
1961 was the earliest building from Milford Street, part of Milford Street down to preschooling, and then from
Okay.
the Milford Street exit to the old exit, that was 1967, and then the main lobby area to the gym was 1987, and then the first grade hallway was 1992, and then they added the kindergarten classrooms in 2001.
Okay.
So that wing,
So-
that's the newest wing, is down by the kindergarten.
That's the newest wing, and then this whole lower level
The lower level.
was
Was fairly
renovated,
new.
like, 3 years ago.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
I remember that better than I remember this.
So the 8 residential boilers were done like as the wings were put on.
As the
Is
wings
that?
are put on,
Yeah.
there's been different boilers,
Yeah.
and each boiler has its own little hub, I would call it,
Sure.
a little room. And
Yes.
with each boiler or each wing, there's a different type of univentilator or
Yeah.
venting system or heating system. So
Yeah.
it's all like, if you want to try to figure out which kind of machinery or equipment to use, this is a great place to come. 'Cause you've got
We
air
have
handlers,
everything.
You've got
It's
mini
his own,
splits.
it's his own sample.
So
We all-
it's a sampling. It's a sampling.
We often have people come in. I ask them one question. I said, "Have you ever seen anything like this?" They said, "Nope."
So it's fun.
Yeah.
Job steward.
It's well, I think to the point to a lot of these things is it's just a natural life cycle, right? And we have done a lot of maintenance to a lot of these units and things, and it's not just kicking the can down the road. It's just over 75 years, things tend to come to a head all at once sometimes, right? And like there is some kicking the can down the road, but also like a natural life cycle of 8 boilers. I mean, just coming from residential construction, right? Like all those homes that were built in 2000 are now coming up on needing a roof and needing a boiler and needing a hot water system. You know, like all those things are coming all at once. And it's not like they were not maintained, it's just the natural life cycle of 8 boilers.
And we'll have more time to talk about this, but I
Yeah.
think the biggest issue, to Lance's point maybe earlier, was HVAC, because the issue with this building is we've got like the univentilators, for example, right? And those are really aged. It's to the point where we have equipment that no longer exists to
Mhm.
purchase,
Right.
and we're gonna have to figure out the HVAC so we can have a uniform system throughout the building.
Right.
Otherwise, they're not built anymore. They don't make them anymore. So
Right.
the cost of that repair
Is expensive.
so expensive,
Mhm.
triple the time of what the unit would cost probably, because you have to retrofit everything
Yeah.
To make it work, you know?
to make it work.
Yeah.
So
But it's not just that, it's like the siding and all those things over time.
we need to.
Well, you know, you can go ahead and fix the roof if you want, but
Dan is banned from the roof. We fixed it so he would stay off the
I'm
roof,
off the roof.
right?
I'm excited.
Did you guys see the roof, by the way?
It looked very
It looked
I
nice.
heard about it.
Milford Street
Great
roof.
job. They did 170 squares and 70 feet of trim.
wow.
So like, within 5 days.
5 days.
One quick thing to ask, and I don't know if this would be the school board or the administrative side, are there grants from the Department of Education that
If there are any grants, we apply for them, and we're never eligible.
Okay.
We keep trying.
When
Give
you
us.
say we're never eligible, what does that mean? Sorry, just to
Okay, so for example, some of the items that aren't necessarily like boilers or whatever, but some of the safety things, you'll see that our fencing needs to be replaced, etc. So every year we apply when it's available, if and when it's available, for the safety grants. And Dan and Patrick West, principal of the middle school, are
Safety chairs.
safety chairs. And so what they did for me was they applied for every single school for a grant for whatever needs those schools had for safety type of, like access to the building, fencing, that type of thing. And so priority was assigned to schools who, number one, hadn't received the grant in prior years, in which we had, and number two, those with a lower socioeconomic status than ours. So we were immediately bumped to the bottom of the list.
But we have gotten the grant before, you said?
We have, and those are typically limited to $80,000 or $100,000, and that's how we've been able to update like our fob system, or school guard class, or the entrance to CSDA. So those types of projects, which have been great. Maybe 5 years ago, we reapplied for building aid, and it's a very long, tedious process. We out of the 21 projects that came in, so we applied for RMS, CSDA, middle school, and high school. And out of the 21 projects that came, that's ranked number one. I don't envision us to get bumped to number one anytime soon. And so I didn't apply. And so the Department of Education reached out to me and said, might I ask you why you didn't apply? And I said, well, it takes a lot of time, a lot of man hours to complete this process year after year. And for the past 4 years, we've been ranked the bottom 4 projects, and there's no funding source. So I don't know that that's the best use of our time right now. And the response was, I can see your perspective. So it's just, are there grants or
Yeah.
funds available from the state? Not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we keep trying.
They missed you. They missed reading your
I
application.
know, they just love our application.
We're worried about you, Gina.
One more quick thing.
Yeah.
The dashboard is awesome, and that's going to be public. This is such an important conversation, and when things have failed in the past, the feedback that I've gotten from constituents is that we didn't socialize these things
Yeah.
enough, right? We didn't talk to the community enough. We didn't market it, for lack of a better word. And so with the dashboard being public, we are showing that transparency. Is there, and I'm sure we have some of this on the website, but is there a way to apply that same kind of lens to this so that people can really see that, like, when we say the boiler is on fire, like, it really is on fire.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I appreciate that, and I think that's a really valid point. I will share that that everybody wants to see the data differently. So Hollis specifically has, by warrant, created a capital expenditure advisory committee, and they look at town stuff, they look at co-op stuff, and they look at Hollis stuff. And so we've had to redo all the things that we do for co-op and Hollis and format it the way that they want. So we have our format, we have their format, and the co-op, they then want us to multiply 55% because it's 55% apportioned to Hollis. So then it becomes a completely, I'm going to be blunt, unusable document to me, because I don't look at these numbers and calculate 55%. If a project's $100,000, it's $100,000. I am not as worried about 45 to Brookline taxpayers, 55 to Hollis, so that number is meaningless to me. And I keep voicing my opinion. If I publish the 55,000, it's going to seem like I'm not being transparent with the fact that it actually costs 100,000. So these types of back and forth, and then in Brookline with impact fees, the town is looking for it in a different way. So I would love to show these. I just feel like we need a consistent way so that we are not quadrupling our efforts to present information that might be confusing and counter to the intent of making it more transparent. I don't know what that looks like. I 100% agree with you, but we're just not there yet because we're being pulled in so many directions.
yeah, and perhaps we can, look at it in a I don't know, a working session or a committee or something like that, just to maybe take that off of your plate, because I really do think that the marketing of our budget this year, the explanation, why we are asking for what we're asking, why we're not asking, I think starting now, I would be totally in favor of starting some sort of project where we think about that, because this is great information. This goes into the budget, right? Like, all of these considerations go into the budget. The data stuff. We see a lot of community members, apply the data outcomes to the budget. If if there is some way where we present the story, that this is the budget, this is, you know, these are all of the things that are needs, these are all of the things that are wants, blah, 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 whatever it is, starting now and going into then deliberative session and voting, hopefully people will just be more aware that no one's swimming in a pool of money like Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with this. Like Tracy, I think it's really important that people see, because while we can talk about it here, we know that not everybody has time to sit down and watch or participate in all of our meetings. So with the data dashboard, and if we are going to be pushing it out, I think maybe, and I'm happy to help as well, if there's some way, once we have the groupings and we have the criticals and the urgencies, and if there's a way to at least just start communicating, even at a 30,000 foot view, that like, hey, aging systems, approximate costs, maybe a little blurb as to what's what, because I guarantee you a lot of people in town don't realize that we have residential boilers, even though we say it a whole lot, right? And what does that actually mean when you're talking about a school building, and why is it important that we call out the fact that they're residential boilers? There is some education that we need to do. Maybe the data dashboard isn't the right place for it. Maybe we need a capital improvement dashboard for Brookline, and I understand the effort. I understand we're pulled in 1,000 directions, but maybe there is a committee here that we can form to be able to put that together and take it off of administrator's plate. Maybe that's something that we do need to explore, because I couldn't agree more how important that is. And it really is just education on why, and the what and why.
Let me give you an exact date. So the roof was supposed to be done for FY20.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe that. No, sorry. FY21 is now done. It got to the point where the roofers had to replace 28 pieces of plywood. So what that means is it was well beyond its years, and we had to go to the plywood to replace, which you should never have to. So when you pull off a roof, very rarely should you have to replace you shouldn't have to replace that many sheets. That's a third of what was done, or a fourth of what was done. So that just shows that we were kicking the can. So that's just an example. So if we're ever going to share how urgent this is, that was an urgent thing, because it cost us way more money than it should have, because we had to replace plywood. So there's an example.
Right, because FY21 was actually September 2020, right? So it's 6 years.
So that's just an example. Like, if we're going to share, like, that would be a prime example of what happens when you know. So
When we
same
don't
thing with the
address.
siding. We don't replace the siding. You're now replacing the plywood, and it's getting into the classrooms, and now you've got an infestation. So, I mean, it's easy to, I'm happy to talk about that, but. I'm just saying,
Correct.
That's the example.
And I think we've got some good examples,
Yep.
right? And I'm sure we have more than just the roof. But I think that's also why it's really important. Well, yes, you have said the roof, like all of us have heard it 1,000 times. I think if there's another mechanism, again, I think this goes back to what we talked about last year about trying to communicate with our community, and not just our school families, but the town as the community, and people who don't have children in the schools are not as dialed in. We need to find ways to educate and to inform, so that when we have to make these decisions, or we bring, requests forward, there's a better understanding, and we're not just shooting off the hip saying, oh, we want a roof, right?
I mean, I honestly feel like we could do it with a video, but I would be happy to do more of a in-person tour of it.
Yeah.
And I know I haven't talked to Gina or Dot or Lauren about this, but like, I think that's the better route, because you have to see it in person, and then a lot of people aren't gonna even watch the video. So open it up, say, we open it up to the public. Here's what it looks like. This is what it, so they can see it in person.
Right.
Rather than a video or what have you. 'Cause-
Sure.
So I just think that's the route to go, because like I said, we talk about it, Gina's talked about it, Andy talked about it. So transparent, they had pictures, it was kicked down the line. So it's,
I don't disagree. I know I we'll probably get some agreement when we went on our boiler tour after the fire. Like, it was eye-opening, I think, for all of us. While we know there's residential boilers, we know they're old, it's another thing to actually put eyes on them, right? And it's, I think there's some opportunity here for us to really put our heads together and figure out how, once we get our priority list,
Yep.
to really start drilling in.
Yeah, can I just propose, or I don't know, could we do some sort of joint task force and call it Building Brookline 2045 or whatever, and really look at what that would look like based on all of the information that we have about population and blah, blah, blah. You know, what are the town facilities, right? We know it's obviously the town hall right now, but there are other buildings in town. What is the school? Just a way to look at it holistically, because although I think we as taxpayers look at it as this is the portion of taxes that go to the town, this is the portion of taxes that go to the school, it's still a bucket of it's all your taxes.
Right.
So, you know, how do we make that a more cohesive plan to present to people, I think?
All right, so part of this work is, I think, facilities committee. I think that conversation was started the last month. And I think that involves other people agreeing to it, not just us. But in terms of all the feedback, I think it's really helpful. Why don't you give us a little bit of time?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
After all the feedback I've heard, I'm pretty honest here.
Go for it.
You know, the Brookline Capital Improvement Plan, over the years, because I didn't want to mention any of this because I owe it to the town, and now I'm going to have to do it. Every year we give them a brief synopsis of each project. And now it's 33, and that's going to take me forever. So, yes, I give a brief description. Andy always asks me to give a brief description because the town asked for that. And the town also asked for, you know, you probably can't see it, but
The priority list.
project
Yeah,
rationale, you know, rating, and I've always made everything necessary because I'm not going to sit there and say it's urgent because it's urgent to me, you know, so I can work on that, obviously. But I just want to point out priority level. I always sit here and make different priorities and try to make it as descriptive as I can to each individual project. So, you know, each one has a different one. And I just noticed I've never used 8 because it's public demand for facility or expenditure, and I've never put that in because I know how it's relayed to me based off of public feedback and voting. So I just thought that was funny.
Anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I am well beyond the time of public input, so I'm gonna go ahead at 7:49 here and close public input for the record. All right, FY25 audit update.
Okay. So every year we get the audit report. It's like a year after the fact, and we post it. I just wanted to make sure that it was shared, that it was a clean audit. Everything was fine. The report is there. It's been posted for a month or so. Thank you, Lance. I'm sorry.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. And so that's just really for informational purposes. I do want to share that our FY26 audit was complete the first week of August. Typically, the auditors are on site for 5 or 6 days, doing the field work and responding over the course of the next week or so with additional information. This year, the auditors were finished midday, like lunchtime on the Thursday. So 3.5 days, and they were complete. They had very little feedback in terms of just accounting adjustments, and those were shared on Friday morning. So it was the cleanest, quickest audit that we've had in my time, and I want to give all the thanks in the world to the business office staff for all the incredible work that they've done and the efficiencies and processes that they have in place. So despite the transition in personnel over there, that was really great. So yeah.
Question about the audit. Do you find it's helpful in any way once you get the full report to look at the financial statements or read the? No. Okay.
No, not the. I mean, so like I was just going to say, so they left, and we have some back and forth, a couple of adjustments. So I know where we stand, and then in 11 months we could read about it. You know. So,
Right.
So to me, that's so far away. Whereas the work that they do when they're on site and the questions that they ask, and then the requests that they make for like fund movement, that's where I find it to be most helpful to understand.
Because I was reading through it, and it said one section said that our budget or our expenditures are fairly stable, right? Like we know it's like a 60-40 split here, this and that, blah blah blah. So I'm just wondering, as we are building the budget or thinking about anything in terms of finance, is it helpful to look at that as something, just an additional piece of information when we are looking at budgets and the financial management of the school? If you have any of that prelim data from this year. I guess I'm just trying to say, like, we have these great financial reports. It's, if you were evaluating a company to buy, you would want this information, right?
Sure.
And there's ways to evaluate if a company is a good company to buy. So I'd love to evaluate and see if Brookline is a good school to buy.
I would buy a school district with newer facilities. No. So what I find to be helpful, more so than going back to the actual audit, is the new items are the new items. But when we look at the actual budget, the spreadsheet, we always present proposed, existing year, which is the budgeted amount, which doesn't necessarily convert to expenditures because we're in the middle of that year, and then the prior 2 years. So we're looking for stability, and anything with a significant plus or minus, we want to know why and explain that. And understand that. And that's part of the reason why we started the new item spreadsheet, so we can pull those items out and bring them to everyone's attention to see why we're straying from kind of, maintaining level funding in those items, or in those line items, I should say. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love a financial report.
Well, I don't think you have a lot of friends in that category. No, it's a lot of numbers, so good for you. All right, so summer updates and staffing and facilities. So you heard the big excitement. The Milford Street roof was finally finished. Great work has been done for the bathroom at RMS. Finally, that was another one of those items that had been kind of kicked down the line for year after year.
Can we cover what we do?
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I had planned on it for the next meeting, but our phones and PA systems have been updated so that we're more uniform across the district and compatible. The boys' bathroom's coming along great. It should be done before school starts, but they basically took out the custodial wet mop set, or I'm forgetting the name right now, but
Utility sink?
the utility sink, yeah, we'll call it that for now. It has a slop sink. They took
Oh,
out the slop
gosh.
sink area, the slop sink, and by doing that, they were able to enlarge the boys' bathroom so it's AD accessible, and it looks great. So they have it tiled right now, it's painted, now they're just putting in the fixtures, the urinals and toilets and the stalls. Milford Street route covered. We have a new kitchen serving counter, so that was a nice new upgrade in our kitchen. We painted the health office, the main office, a couple classrooms. I did that. And then soap dispensers, we replaced all the soap dispensers around the building and sanitizers. And then today, some landscaping around the building. So if a branch falls in your car, I'm sorry.
I think, did we do anything with the parking lot? Have we talked about, like, we were gonna, like, did that happen?
For the paving?
Yes,
So
I
to
don't know
put
if
that
we
off right
repeated
now,
it.
we're getting
Okay.
quotes. We did get a quote.
Okay.
It's to the point where that quote, we would probably have to phase it because of the cost of it. And then
Yeah.
I know Lance has some other.
Can I just chime in?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, that's all true, but
Okay.
really what's preventing us from moving into the phases, because we said break it up into as many phases as you can, so we can both put it in the budget and see what we can approve, because you authorize the expenditure of some money to start that project. What we're doing is we're waiting for our final fund balance number to see what we can
Okay.
actually sign off on. And so obviously school's starting, but the paving company understands that when we are going to request a section, it'll be done during a school break. So we will have the POs are written.
Okay.
It's just the amount, we're not sure of the amounts
Yeah,
yet.
and I might change it so like if you arrive too early for carpool, you're going to have to park, and then you have to sponsor a parking spot.
Dan,
so that
don't even start.
by sponsoring this parking spot, it will help.
I'll buy my
create
own
some
parking
revenue
spot.
for our new.
That's
parking
fine. You show
buy-
me which
you can buy
parking
a
spot I
brick.
can buy, and I will buy my own parking spot.
lot. And you can have a brick.
And I can have a brick. And if I pay for it though, can I walk to the end of the driveway? No, just kidding. I'm not gonna walk to the end of the driveway. People don't follow my example. Don't do what I do.
So, no, but we appreciate the
Do
support
what I
for the
say, not
bathroom.
what I do.
Yes, do what I say, not what I do. Exactly.
No, but so we'll be moving forward with that. It might, depending on the paving company's availability.
Okay.
We're using the same paving company for Hughes. They have major culvert issues that are barely drivable. So we're waiting for final numbers so we can authorize that project, and it has a higher priority than RMS, because believe it or not, it's in much worse shape.
But that would be a summer project.
Hughes? No,
No,
we're
ours.
trying to
If
do
we were
that
to do
ours.
something, it would be a summer project.
Not necessarily.
Oh,
No, yours might be.
That's great. Thank you.
And facility? Floor machine, right?
What?
No, that's here.
You got the
That's
floor
for-
machine?
I haven't seen it yet, but it's coming.
Okay.
I didn't get a floor machine.
You didn't get it.
That's next year.
Next year.
Next year. So we had summer school at our building, which went swimmingly, so that went really well. We didn't have a lot of things happen over the summer. One of the bigger things we did have is the path was created to go down to our soccer field. So we're going to be able to use that, I know, right?
The kids were super excited.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
it is,
they were so excited.
So grateful.
So that's going to be game changing with our recesses, especially with the kids who play football, boys and girls, who play football and soccer. So we're going to be able to go down to that area to play, things like field day. It'll also kind of take some of the energy off of our playground and put it in another spot so everything's not all in one
Put it into a
spot.
different roped-in section.
So yes, it was, parsing it out. So that was the big thing that got done. We did repaint our office this summer, which is nice. It's a nice sage color, not green, sage.
I don't know if it's sage.
Very calming.
Moss.
Very nice.
Celery.
Very
Okay,
nice.
we're-
It's like a moss
Sorry,
green.
It is.
Moss. Sage, celery.
I would say sage.
Okay, sage. I would go
Yeah.
sage.
I would disagree.
It's a nice green.
It's a sage green, goes very well with the floors. Looks very nice. I think, and then just kind of looking forward, what I noticed last year is that our school is very much used by the community. So I think it's important that we keep up this very clean, crisp appearance for people who come into our building, and we show that pride. So the very first thing I talked with Lance, and he's been wonderfully receptive. I don't know if you know, but in our gym, if you've ever looked up, there was a ball up on the ceiling. Do you know what that ball was? Does anybody here on the board know what that ball was? Do you want to take a guess?
How long had it been up there?
Speaker, forever, probably.
Probably since before I moved here. Then I don't know.
Speaker. Anybody else want to take a
You mean the
guess?
disco ball that's up there?
The disco ball that was up there, yeah. It was winner. It was a speaker. I never would have guessed that. If you look on the top of it, it's got like a subwoofer piece to it. I never would have guessed that. Nobody ever knew, but they took it down.
It's so multifunctional.
It's multifunctional. So I'm gonna have this fun little thing with the staff. Hopefully none of the staff are watching because I want to do something fun and see if people can guess exactly what that thing was. Because there were rumors it was from aliens and all kinds of fun things. So, but cleaning up areas was the point. Cleaning up areas, looking at the scoreboard that. I had Lance come out and check out the scoreboard that doesn't work but kind of does work, and making sure we kind of clean up that space in the gym too as well. So we've got some things in the future we want to do, but those were the main things that we were looking at over the summer.
I also just want to again thank Dan for inviting alumni back to put their handprints up on the wall. I think that was I did see that there were quite a few families that actually came in, I believe, to do that. So that was great. Thank you, Dan, for kind of again taking time out of summer. I know it can be hectic, but I saw lots of families kind of coming in and putting their fingerprints on. The kids were excited, the parents were excited. So that again, yeah.
We actually had thank you. There was a lot of families or parents
Yeah.
that went here, so they came, and college students, so it was great.
Yeah, yeah, it was good.
And today we had our first kindergartner put the first apple on the wall, because we're doing apples for kindergarten.
That's exciting.
Fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's cute.
Very good.
One
Very
fist,
good, very good.
other fist, one together, apples. Looks
Smart.
perfect too.
Smart.
I
Beautiful.
bet.
Cool.
That's great. Great.
Can I just say one thing before we leave this topic? We have such a wonderful community full of the most giving, I think, and also very bright. We have people that work in all sorts of fields, from self-starters, entrepreneurs, industry, corporate America, whatever have you. The point I'm trying to make is that if there's a need, say, for like a scoreboard to be fixed or something like that, is it possible for us to ask the community to recommend someone or someone to volunteer? Is that
It depends on what it is.
uh,
Just because there's liability issues involved
Yeah,
in some.
yeah.
Volunteer, like, if there's a scoreboard fixer-upper, it does work. The question is the control, right, communicating with the board.
Well, but you
yeah,
were.
but
I
just
think
things like
well,
yeah,
you were telling me today he was giving us a private tour because we missed the real tour. But you were talking about your list, and that was one of the things I was thinking is he said that you had to repaint some lines, right out on the mat or out in the playground, and like that is something. To your point, that I think like the community could come together, like whether it's PTO or even separate, just we could help out with that. So things like that, maybe we could have like almost like a
community day.
school, like
Yeah.
a community
Or-
or like
yeah.
a school project list, and it would be things that like to your point, you wouldn't have to worry about like liability, but people could come out and say, okay, we gotta paint. We gotta paint the asphalt in the playground. We have to fill in mulch, or we have to do. I think that people would step up.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I mean, I think in high school they have to do service projects or whatever. I'm not trying to like conscript people into doing these things,
no,
but
it's true.
I
volunteer
don't know.
hours.
Scouts,
Like the work that they did with like the Boy Scouts did the shelter and everything like that. Just a thought.
Thanks, sounds good.
Anything else? That's it? All right. Board goals for this year. Want to have a discussion about where people's heads are at and thoughts are for our goal or goals for the year.
We need to make some money.
Any ideas, Heather, on what money we would like?
So I'll kind of open it up for if anybody has anything they want to bring forward, what their initial thoughts are maybe for this year of a focus.
And I just want to clearly identify the FY28, meaning as we're building the budget, what are some areas of focus that you would like us to consider? Last year we focused a lot on contracts.
Yes.
I think just off the top of my head in terms of budget, I think I would like to kind of just again keep an eye on what are things that are either about to die or like ranking if there's like one or two things that really need to be tackled priority wise. I would like to see that. I know that could be dependent on the person as to what's a priority, but I think that would be helpful just for me. And then I think in terms of I would, as many people on the board have also already said tonight, just increasing communication. Again, we're always working on that with like the community so that we're not all having to communicate in that like 3 weeks in February where we're trying to like get people ready for deliberative. I think anything we can do to kind of educate people on the facility needs, on the educational, on what like as we go throughout the year, that would be a goal, I think, for me.
And the only thing I'd add in is that obviously we're kind of kicking off the new year. I'd like to hear from all of you, right? Administration, I'd like to hear from our principals a little bit more. Like, what are your priorities for this year? Like, what's important to you? Because I think that's guidance we need from you.
So that we're going to share about that at the next one.
I thought
Yeah.
I heard that. Okay.
I'm going to second the budget and the communication. I think if we have a communication plan or a standard or something, it would help make disseminating information about the budget a little bit smoother and more broadcast. And the data, like we're being very transparent, and I'm loving that. And it's just kind of that, like, okay, we're transparent now. You have to go look at it and see how transparent we're being. So go here. I think I would also just wonder about anything that we have, like, by building community with the town. I think there was the, offer for a select board liaison. I think that is extremely important with everything going on in the town and with everything that we are looking at.
So I think in terms of priority and building a budget, and this may be unpopular, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's where I'm currently sitting and how I'm feeling. But I would really like our goal, and this kind of ties into the capital improvement plan and working with the select board. I'd really like a longer term plan, and the community was very gracious last year, and I think from what I'm hearing is people are concerned with the amount of projects between the town and the schools, and I would like us to take a year to breathe and keep our budget conservative, so that we can really truly assess what we need, not have guesstimate on numbers, work towards some of those bigger projects, and put stronger plans in place in terms of better financial planning. And that may be unpopular on the board, and I hate saying it because I fully support all of our schools and what we do, but all of the pot of the money comes from the same place. So I love the idea of some kind of a task force. It's why I wanted to bring forward asking about being a select board liaison to start really opening up some of those lines of communication. But while doing so, instead of just forging ahead and pushing forward and always hitting our 8% tax cap, I'd really like to see us be more conservative this year. And that's where I sit. I think it's we're probably gonna need some conversations on that one. But I'm just gonna
Can you
put that out there.
expand on that a little?
So I feel like every year we hit our 8%, and we always hit our 8% because we can hit 8%.
We don't. I just want to, because that's definitely not the case.
Okay. I feel like I think there is a bit of a perception on that, and I think I think everybody's feeling taxes going up left and right, and I just want to, if we're gonna have any big asks, I actually would wonder if there are things that we can defer so that we can stay closer to a smaller percent, at least this year, after the last couple of years where we've gone up kind of significantly. Does that help kind of?
I think I'm just on the I think I'm just on the opposite
end.
End.
That's fair.
Fitting that we're at the opposite ends of the table. I think, definitely take some time to breathe, to look at how we work through this next year. Nothing gets done in move at a glacial pace, please. But I really do feel as though I feel, and I will speak for how I feel about my role, is that under the three kind of guiding principles we have in terms of superintendent evaluation, the budget, and what was the other thing? Policy, yes. I really feel like I look at the budget in terms of what is the best for the school, what is the best for the community, what is the best for the kids, and I feel sometimes I feel that there's tension, definitely, right? And I live here, I'm a taxpayer, I cry when I open the bills. But I think we really, I put my hat on with, if the school system isn't top notch, then we're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. And we won't be able to sell our homes. We don't have anything else here that attracts people.
Can
Yeah.
I just say something? I was just gonna say, I think we might, I'm just agreeing with both of you, but I think we're kind of, in terms of board goals, I do think we're getting maybe just a little ahead of ourselves, only because we don't really know yet what the goals are and what's immediate and what isn't. And so I think first we need to establish and define that, and then determine where we feel comfortable and where we need to make investment or we don't. Is that
Well,
correct?
and thank you, because I think that maybe articulates a little bit better. I'm not comfortable with what I saw out of the SIP tonight. I'm not, just transparently, that I feel like there's so much more that we need to know, so that as you identify things, that we can support them fully, especially with all of the questions that come up of at what point do you stop repairing and we rebuild and things of that nature. And I just want to this year really drill into those things so that we're making smart, very smart financial decisions. And if that means we need to just glacier pace for a year, I would be more comfortable with that, personally, from where I sit. It's part of our responsibility in our 3 pillars includes the community as a whole, not just our students, but everybody, right? And of course the students are at the very top of that list. But I want to understand better, right?
Yeah.
And I want us to be smart financially, because we all don't like opening our bill, right? So
The only other thing I would say is, I know when we looked at those numbers, everyone's like aghast, but I've only been on the board for a year and a half, and so I don't know what this looked like before, but I have to imagine this looked kind of similar. I mean, this school you just said is 50 years old, so, I mean, these are estimates, I mean, right, am I right?
66.
It's almost 70.
Okay, thank you.
But you're
So
in
my
the right
point is that
School doesn't start yet.
I don't think,
It's okay.
I guess my point is, I think that if we kind of like went back in time 5 years, I don't think you would have seen different numbers. I think you would have seen very similar numbers.
Yeah.
I think that again, we've been very creative. Like, so I agree that they kind of look scary right now because they're out here, but again, 5 years ago, I think that they really would have been very close, and we just have to, I think what somebody said, like, we just have to take it all in and know that we have to figure out what is most urgent, and we will find that out, and we will have to determine what we do with that.
So this, I find this really helpful. So what I'm hearing is we really want to dive into facilities and develop a deep dive and develop a kind of a plan of attack.
Yeah.
But also, we're all feeling as taxpayers burdened, and so keeping that in mind. So really, this year we don't have contracts, so we're not looking for huge expansion on the budget in any area other than potentially like let's really do our due diligence with the facilities, and everything else bare bones, and that helps me as we, go from round 1 and round 2 into when it becomes public to you. So thank you.
Yeah, I think too, it's also just, this was very helpful to have, like, facilities, because this is my 3rd year, going into my 3rd year, and I know the facilities committee was just started, last year or the year before
A
that,
year ago,
right?
yeah.
A year ago, yeah. So, I mean, we're really just kind of starting a deep dive, so I definitely this year would like to continue to build on that, and I would like to make it like kind of a more a kind of a tradition in this way, that we are able to kind of review maybe at the beginning and end of each year, like what have we done, what have we, because I do think the more that watching like what was going on in Hall, I think it was helpful for me as a board member here to be like, all right, yeah, I think we really need to have like a deep dive and kind of do have a better overall picture of our facilities, which we're now getting. So I appreciate that, and I would definitely like to continue building on that over the course of this year so that we can just really start to fold it into budgets.
It seems to make sense that, you're talking about the select board liaison and everything, and just, not just the select board, but to maybe try and get a couple community members involved and talk, maybe some people that are at the town hall. Like, there's a lot of the library, like, it would be great if we could work together as, I'd be happy to be on a committee to talk about town planning. I know we have a town planner, but like, to really dive into what that looks like, and we've talked about this in the facilities meeting, and because ultimately I think that's what this is all going to come down to is, right now a boiler is a Band-Aid, or the roof is a Band-Aid, or the town hall situation is a Band-Aid, and there's a lot of Band-Aids going on. And I hear the tax bill conversation. I'd like to point out, and I think it's an important conversation to have, in New Hampshire we have one of the lowest tax burdens in the entire country. So it feels like a lot of money, but we're not paying income tax and we're not paying sales tax. And so while it feels like a lot of money, which it is, we're seeing it all at once, right? And so instead of 6% out of each check or whatever, and we're not getting any funding, or not any, that's not the correct thing. We're getting little funding from the state, and the burden goes on, as we're a small town, with very little business, the burden goes on to the property owners, right? And so it is a problem for sure, because we have a higher burden here in Brookline than some other towns that are larger and have a larger base and have businesses and things like that, for sure. But it doesn't make the need go away just because the money is there. We move people here all the time for the schools. The schools are what we bring to our residents. Like, that's it. We don't have a senior center, and that was a discussion in the facilities committee, right? We don't have, our library is amazing, but they're gonna need parking. They're gonna need, there's a lot of things that we don't have here in town. We don't have trash pickup. We don't have these things. These are things that all we have is the schools. And it's not all, we have amazing trail systems, so that's also there, but it's not a lot of people moving here just for the trails, Right. And so by prioritizing our schools, we are prioritizing our citizens, because we're protecting their investment in the town, right? We're protecting, and by that I mean we're protecting their home values, we're protecting their resale ability. If our schools go under, our town is in really bad shape. And so we're protecting our citizens by protecting the schools. And I think it's a really important point to make. And I know that it costs a lot. As we're all citizens here and we all pay our tax bills, but ultimately, I'd hate to cut our nose off to spite our face, right? So it's just something that I want to bring up as it's a really important conversation, but it'd be great to create a committee for the town as a whole, whether we include some citizens from the town, if we, a couple of us on the school board.
Well, I can volunteer somebody from the library, whether he wants to do it or not.
Yeah,
I'll send him to
great.
meetings. You let me know when they are, and I'll
But
pack
all
them
these
all.
things need to be addressed, even the police, the fire, and all that, they all are part of the whole planning, right? And it doesn't exist, and I feel like that we're all trying to do our own thing individually, and if we came together, it would really make a big difference. And we presented to the town as a whole community, as one, this is the plan for the next 20 years. I think it would make it a lot easier to ask for $2 million,
Yes.
and say, but here's the goals, and here we're all working together instead of all doing our own thing.
Here's step
That's
one,
my
here's
point.
step two, here's step three.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Telling you, building Brookline 2024.
I like it. I think we should do it.
Or
No, well,
20
2
years
years
out.
out.
I know, 2040.
I would love
That's actually the
to
name of our
dismiss my principals.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Principals.
To dismiss my principals.
How about your assistant?
Well, I have to stay, but.
You have to do policy. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful opening day.
I actually have to stay, but.
Okay. Chaz, have a wonderful opening day.
Good. I have to get.
Have a wonderful opening day.
Oh, thank you.
Exciting.
So much.
I have to
Appreciate
get
it.
get her signature. Again, if you.
Do you want to move on to select board liaison?
Yeah, no committee update, just came from somewhere.
Wait, nothing's met.
What?
No,
Oh,
we-
nothing's met, okay. So we're gonna skip over,
Everything else.
all right, so we do not have any committee updates at the moment. So liaison to the select board. So I asked to add this to the agenda item because like we've kind of said, I'm very interested in us not working in a silo with everything else that's going on in town. Personally, I would like to start attending select board meetings on behalf of the school board to be able to get information back and forth and attend some of their budget conversations and make sure that they're aware of what we are facing, and then I can bring back what they are. So, and maybe that starts the conversations of a task force, because I really like that idea for the town, quite frankly. So I'm interested, but I wanted to see if anybody else was, or if there was an appetite, if you guys are comfortable if I do that, or if somebody else would like to, thoughts?
No, feel free. I'm happy to join if needed, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah,
great
but-
idea. I would not like to be the liaison because I do not have any time, but I do think that that would actually go a long way towards what we just were discussing in terms of us all kind of being more on the same page, for sure.
Yeah, and I think if there's ever a time where, you know, you can't do it, one of us could just fill in, you know, I think that would be very, very valuable
Okay.
as well.
I know they meet a lot more often than we do, and I'll speak with Brian about what is the most impactful in terms, is it once a month, is it for somebody from our board to show up? So I'll work with him on that, and I'll let you guys know, we'll go from there.
Would it be helpful just also to know who is interested? So if you can't go, you can reach out, or like, would that be helpful to know?
Yeah, or I can just email Lynn, Tracy, and Heather. Really, I'll just kind of email and say who's
Yeah,
free
I
on
mean,
this date.
everyone
Like,
happy. Yeah.
we'll just do it that way. Not, I'll leave
Not me.
Johanna off
I will
that
not.
request.
Thank
Fair enough. So with that, then I will start deliberations with a motion to allow myself or a designee to attend select board meetings on behalf of the school board. So can I get a motion to that effect?
So
And a second? Thank you. All in favor?
All of us.
Excellent. Okay. So with that, we then can move to policy. So,
that's you done.
Yay.
moving right along.
Moving right along. Okay. The policy committee met on August 11th, and we are recommending the following. BEDB, agenda preparation and dissemination. You're seeing this for the third time, and we recommend third and adopt. There are no new changes. I can't remember if you guys go one at a time or if I'm gonna do the
I think
whole
you
thing.
do them all, and then we
Okay.
briefly
Do
discuss.
them all and then we talk.
Presenting for a first read with just minor changes and hoping to adopt our EBCA. The only changes here are in the bottom of the first paragraph, and it is to clarify the definition of what we mean and expand the definition of property. That came in the spring review with this recommendation from the School Board Association. This is just a recommended policy, it's not required, but because it already matches what we do by law anyways, in the case of an emergency, we thought that it is prudent to have a policy in place that says what we do with crisis plans. JLCD, administering medicine to students. There was a typo on the second page, and then just making sure that we had a connection to policy JLCE. If you remember, we approved this back in the spring, and those two policies are connected, and so it's just really just making some grammar changes on that one. And presenting for our first read is KF. This is the policy on school facilities and fields policy. This will probably be with us for 3 reads. We took our first read through it, and there was some questions about going across state lines. The attorney's busy getting all the discipline updates and stuff out to school districts for opening of school. But we also will share at the next policy meeting the policy from co-op, which is much clearer to understand than this policy. But we're just bringing it forward for a first read and move to second. AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity. This comes out every couple of years for you to look at. There's not a lot we can change. It's mandated kind of by federal law. And there are just some minor changes that expanded the section F, complaint and reporting procedures, and just made it much more delineated and expanded some of the definitions. So we're recommending that for first read and go to second and adopt, hopefully. Similar with DAF, it's administration of federal grant funds. This comes to you every couple of years for approval. We need it whenever we apply for grant money. There are some changes in here, mainly in the areas of the amount of money that's needed to follow the procurement regulation. There's also a change in when you need to have a contract analysis. They upped that just to meet inflation times. And then there's changes in how we just if we're done using something, the disposition process or the change of use process. There's some change in that language. So although there are some numerous changes throughout the policy, we don't have a lot of say as to whether we accept them or not. It's part of the law. And then finally, JICL, that's the internet, school district internet access for students. The committee looked at that. We were not making any changes, but the committee still felt like they wanted to bring that forward to let you know, and we'll mark it as reviewed. And you'll be seeing a more detailed AI policy that we'll be working on throughout the fall and will be coming to you soon. And that will incorporate some of what's in here, so that's why there wasn't any sense to change this. This is basically saying school uses technology. It's expected that your children will use technology when they're in school, that we take every measure that we can to make sure that they're protected. And so there was no changes that needed to be made.
Dot, can I just ask a question about that one in particular? Will there also be a policy on using AI for administration or staff or teachers or any use of AI in the classroom? Are we?
I think
do we
it'll be a comprehensive policy. We are also planning a PD Day in November, where we're going to do some education and training with all of our staff. They will have access to an AI kind of locker room that has a lot of resources that they can use. It's not being used with students yet. Gemini is turned off for students, but it is on for staff.
Yeah. Okay. There's with the mistakes and hallucinations it can make, and if we over-index on it and over-rely on it to help teach the students, I'm just concerned about that they'll learn,
I think that the approach that we're taking is that it's here. It's not something we can ignore, and we want to make sure that all of our educators at least have a baseline knowledge of what it is and how to use
absolutely.
it. But the reason we chose this speaker was because of his knowledge around how to let people know how to use it efficiently, but also effectively, and to use it so that it's a tool and not a crutch.
Yeah.
So knowing the AI policy is coming, I actually reached out to Gina to ask if it would be possible for us as a board to get some training or to attend that
You
training.
can attend this training.
So that we are all coming from the use of AI and from a variety of purviews and use. And I think it would be really good if we're going to be reviewing an AI policy for schools, that we need to understand from a school perspective, appropriate, not appropriate, how our teachers are being trained, so that as we support a policy that goes into place, we have a shared common understanding of what our school community is using it, and the ways in which they are saying it's good here, it's not good in this use or whatever. So you guys will send out information on training for us, and if we are not able to attend, is there a way we can either get materials or can we kind of think through what that might look like if I'm assuming it's gonna be during the school day, so if we're not able to attend, is there a way then for us to get access to materials or the content so that we can be better informed when we sit down to look at the policy?
We can reach out, and if not, there might be a way that we can do an alternative type training.
Yeah, I want to say too, thank you to Lynn for bringing this up at our policy committee, who really advocated for this, because I think it's very important that we all are kind of on the same page of how the school is planning to use it. I know I personally won't use AI for anything, so I'm like a dinosaur. But that was part of the reason that Lynn thought a training would be helpful, and I think we all agreed that it would be really helpful for all of us to just kind of know. And I think at that point, we would possibly be able to ask and or see what the district's intention is in terms of rights. So that could be helpful for us also. Anything that if we're not able to make it, that would be great, even just to see if would it be worth like maybe doing like a presentation at like an SAU governing board meeting where all of us are there since we're all going to have to kind of face it. But I think those are great questions. Would it be possible to also like with questions like that to email them to you maybe, and then they
Sure.
can be passed on to would that be?
Yep.
Okay, because I think AI is a big question.
And we know that there's already a large continuum of use already.
Yeah.
Some people who will never use it and don't want to use it, up to people that are, expert users and are using it, teachers and leaders that are using it a lot.
My daughter got a scam on her phone today, and she sent it to me because she was freaking out because it said she had to show up at court.
Me too.
And so I took a picture of it. She took a picture of it and sent it to me. She's freaking out because she's in South Carolina. And so I just threw that through Scout, because that's what mine's called. And he was like, no. That's a scam. You're good.
This was one of the most realistic ones because it
Yes.
actually had an officer's name and a
Yes.
badge number
And
and
court,
and court date.
Yes, but it was like, it gave you all the signs. It said, this is.
This is New Hampshire. It came on my New Hampshire phone.
Mine's
so-
named Fred, so.
Oh, so I let it name itself.
I did too, and he named himself Fred.
He did.
And I'm like,
Mine's not gender.
I won't even look at it because if any of my professors are like, was this AI? I don't want to. I just want to graduate.
Yeah. All right.
I refuse to use
Excellent.
it. So,
Do we have any other questions about the
do we need to
policies looking
discuss the
forward?
policies?
I had a question about the agenda one, and just a semantic question probably, because I know we wanted to approve and adopt it. Oh, thank you. I still need these glasses. Gosh, getting old. Could you expound a little bit on, it says, superintendent or board chair determines that an item is not appropriate for placement. I understand the restriction due to, legal, but do you have a sense of what you feel is not appropriate?
So there are some items that cannot be legally on the agenda, cannot be spoken about in a public meeting. We have been asked in the past to place some of those items on the agenda. So it is my job to protect the district from liability. And so if I'm asked to do that, I need to make sure that the policy allows me to say, like, no, it's not appropriate for an agenda.
No, I totally get that. But from a person who might want to suggest items, if there are things that are like, if I give you 3 things, and you say like, oh well, this isn't like just some.
It could be personnel issues.
some, like,
it could be something that identifies a student or a specific teacher. Those would be kind of examples of what that would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second part of that sentence makes.
Can you tell me where the sentence is?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. It's the second paragraph.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
We talked about this section in our policy meeting,
Yeah.
and there. No, go ahead.
No,
No, it's good.
unless
This is-
unless either the superintendent or board chair determines
it
that
just
an item
says-
is not appropriate. Yeah.
It's not appropriate for placement. So that's just, it feels very open-ended. I get, the restriction due to legal. But yeah, just some guidelines about what is
Yeah,
not
so some other boards have said, I will only talk about this if it comes to me in September. But just the flow of the work, it's not, the budget can't come in September because it's not ready. So we've experienced some kind of pushback saying, no, but this is when I want it. And so the board chair is usually like, no, this is the flow. In co-op, for example, there are reasons why some things have to be handled when they are. So a new course is presented in certain months and only certain months, because then it goes to the program of studies. And once that is reviewed, the following month it's approved, because students then have to do course selection. And then you have to build the schedule. You can't move that, or really the entire flow of the high school stops. And so there have been, those are things that just are not appropriate. It's not like that they're wrong, they're not illegal, it's just we're gonna do that, but that has to happen in this month. So it's really just kind of understanding.
Is it more of a timing issue?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Could I?
But not solely.
Could I just speak up here for 1 second? Because
Yeah.
we did talk about this in the policy meeting, and she brings a valid point, and actually I'm glad you brought this up, because at the time, the question that I had in the policy meeting, and actually should have been brought up here, and it did blank my mind, was I think a good point to bring here says, unless either the superintendent or the board chair determines an item, and where I think that can present a challenge, right now, you two work together wonderfully. You're great, right? If one or the other becomes adversarial, right? And not saying you are not going to be in this position for 40 years,
No.
and you're not going to be in this, hopefully,
Gosh,
in this
no.
position for 40 years, right? So,
If you are, we'll give you a party.
in the event that those two positions become adversarial with each other, they could block items from becoming, the important items from becoming a topic. And this is probably where she's coming from too, is like, well, it is very open-ended, and in this situation right now, as we operate, it's fine. However, future-proofing, right, where one or the other could potentially block what would be a normal agenda item that, well, you know, Allison, I'm saying Allison,
No, it's fine.
board chair doesn't want to talk about because it makes them look bad, or superintendent makes them look bad, and, well, it's a procedural thing, and I just don't want to talk about it this month, and now it gets pushed off, right? And so, I think it would be, personally, and I'm open to discussion, I think it would be both, not either or.
I believe that isn't that what we agreed on in the meeting? I thought we had agreed on both. Or I
No,
thought
we had the
agreed-
discussion, and then
okay,
there
'cause
was,
I remember that.
you know, so
Okay, so I think I had originally said we both needed to agree, and then Gina came back and said, however, she has more of the legal understanding
Great.
and the responsibility to protect
100%.
the district, right? So hang on. So I think maybe what is missing here, because my intention when I brought this forward was there were multiple policies that were conflicting as to who made the agenda and how to request items, right? And I wanted to make this more efficient. I also wanted a mechanism in place at the responsibility of the board chair, that if the board, and I'm not worried about your team in this, so don't mind me on this one, but if somebody on our board or a future board requests an agenda item that cannot be placed for legal procedural reasons, we need to explain to you why, right? So, Lynn, if you suggest something, say, I want to talk about the schedule at the September meeting, I would be required, and it's not in here, but I would be required to tell you why it cannot be placed, and then keep a running log that gets passed from board chair to board chair in the board chair Google Drive, so that we have that record, right, of requested items and then declined items. And I, just to make sure that everybody felt that any board member felt like they were being heard. And because that was one of the things that I heard too, is that sometimes items were requested, they were ignored, they were overlooked, whatever. And so I was trying to make it more efficient, where board requested items came up through the chair, district requested items came through the superintendent, and then in the middle we make the agenda.
Right.
But then there's a legal review essentially,
100%.
right? And so maybe this isn't worded exactly how it needs
Right.
to be,
No,
but
I
I
agree.
also, my intention also was to hold the chair responsible to respond in the event that something's not being placed with why, to also help board members, like Tracy's question, like what is an example of why something wouldn't be placed on there? Well, this is a legal matter that might, put the district at risk. We can't talk about it.
But
Like,
can I propose
so,
that
I don't know.
if you were the chair member and she told you it's illegal to talk about it, wouldn't you agree?
I would ask her why, and I would
Sure,
I would
but-
need that understanding as to
Underst-
why.
But wouldn't you agree in order to ban it from, or ban is not the right word,
No,
remove
ban-
it from
yeah.
the agenda, right? So like, if she was presenting something as it's a legal concern, correct? You would have no reason to disagree. And so therefore you would both agree to remove it from.
Correct.
So then it should be both and not either.
I think from what I recall from that discussion in policy, I believe we had opted to keep it vague, right? Because we wanted to try and leave it, we wanted to try and kind of give a little bit of leeway, like to keep it as vague as possible, because we also didn't want to veer too deeply into, and it was a very robust conversation, if I recall. We didn't kind of want to veer too deeply into like over, so this, it may be that what we do tonight is maybe approve it and then push it back in September, because we can do that as well. We can approve it it's up for a third read if we approve it and then immediately.
You can just
push
move it to a fourth
We
read.
can also just move it to fourth read. But I do remember there was a Doc, do you recall what the reason was specifically? Why? Because we did ask about having it as both. I remember. Do you remember why we didn't agree to that?
It was I think it's the pull of trying to say that both have a say into it, but ultimately the superintendent is the one that's gonna have to make the final call if it's a legal or procedural.
So if we do
Sure.
both, so talking about adversarial, right? If, say we're adversarial, and she says, well, from this legal perspective, we can't put this on the agenda, well, I don't care, you
Right.
have to put it there.
That was the problem.
Legal be
that
darned,
adversary
that's the
of-
problem with both, because no matter who sits in this chair, we do not have the legal expertise to always be in alignment with the
So
superintendent.
maybe the better way to do it would be the superintendent has say for legal matters specifically, correct? Because anything else like procedural or policy, things like that, are not necessarily because absolutely I have no
Correct.
idea about legality.
Right.
So like maybe anything outside of legal, because she or they or whoever is in leadership at that time, right, would have the best purview of what is legally.
Why don't we just send this back to fourth read? 'Cause
Yeah.
feel
But
like
I think
it's
we
just-
brought that here because we had this discussion, or like we should talk to the board about it.
Yeah, right, I guess, but like, I don't know.
It's late, I know. I
No,
get it.
it's just, it's not necessarily productive to like wordsmith in a meeting like this. I think everyone should kind of share feedback with the committee to discuss.
Fair enough.
I'm telling you that, my experience, I would request that it stay as is, because, people are not always as reasonable as one might hope them to
Right.
be. And to protect the district, I would encourage you to keep the language as is.
Okay.
If we come across a problem, then the means around that would be my evaluation, that I'm not hearing, you know, agenda preparation, et cetera, or things don't get done, you know, because we're adversarial and the board chair is blocking things that need to move forward. And I think we look at it from I don't know that we're gonna get there, like a 1 versus 1, but it's when they both have to be in agreement that I see greater risk.
However, in this, the board chair has the right to block things from the agenda, so, I mean, we both could go, I mean, hopefully it's never like that, but
Right.
let's be real, people, you never know who's sitting in the chairs,
There's
right?
community members that are very adversarial and,
Correct.
and do run for positions, and so that's my point, right? And like I think you guys are all wonderful, right? Like I think you guys do a great job.
No, but
I'm
it's
just trying-
future-proofing.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that's.
Which is what I was trying to do when I was
Should it
pulling
just
all of
say-
these
well, and
documents
It
forward.
sounds like it's gonna go back to read, but
Sure.
maybe it should just say the superintendent, you know?
So how about this? How about we send it back to a fourth read, and if people could put in an email to both Lynn and myself, just the two of us though, just so that we're not in a quorum. Could you guys send us the feedback that you guys want in writing, so that at the next policy meeting, Lynn and I can pull it up? And I think that, I mean, Lynn,
Yeah,
what do you
it's
think?
fine.
I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
that might be
absolutely.
the most helpful.
I also, and I'll email you, but I would like to add in something about if a board member requests something and it is not put on the agenda, that the chair is required to explain why to that board member. I think that's an important piece, because I know things have been requested and declined.
Sure.
Sometimes we don't give the best of explanations, and I would like that as a future proof, right? Because it keeps us all honest, that I'm not, you know, just dictating, or a chair is not just dictating an agenda and ignoring the rest of their fellow board members. I want to make sure that there is communication, even if it needs to be forced, through a policy where you could then where then future boards could hold a chair accountable and things like that. So I just was kind of thinking from that nature too, of like maybe boards that don't always work so well together, and like how do we future proof and protect the whole, and
Yeah.
so yeah.
So,
I
so
just
I would
want to make sure voices are heard.
Yeah, no, and I think that's fair. So I would
Me
say
too. That's-
at this
Yeah, I
point,
get it.
we're going to send it back for fourth read. Board members, please send your written, just because we will not remember, so please send written feedback, comments, things that you want to see changed to both Lynn and myself. If you'd like to include Dawn on it, that could probably be helpful, so that she is aware and can kind of run it past from the administration point of view, and then we'll bring it back next month for a fourth read if that works for everybody. Does that sound good? Awesome. Okay. So then,
Are we going policy by policy or just whatever?
I think
Only
if there's
you have
discussion,
something.
yeah.
Do you guys have something? Anything else on another policy?
Yeah, on the one that, the BSD, the community use of school facilities,
Yeah.
KF.
Oh, sorry, oh, is it K? Oh,
KF.
sorry.
Yeah, 'cause I
KF.
think
Oh,
BSC is
sorry.
Brookline
yes.
School. Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of great framework around the mechanism, and I'm wondering if we have anything in here about who we grant, or what kinds of events we would allow. I know we wouldn't allow anything illegal, but, what if it's a political group? What if it's, there are thousands of examples, right, that might not be appropriate for a group to meet in a public school building. And I just wasn't sure if that was.
So this one we sent to the lawyers, I think partially to ask that question.
Yeah,
that
it
was my
hasn't gone
biggest.
to her yet
Yeah.
because
So
of
Okay.
So we
priorities.
can certainly add that in. But I think that was one of the things that we brought up, and Lynn, certainly correct me if I don't remember correctly, but I believe we brought that up the last one, is that we definitely wanted the lawyer to review this because we knew that there were requests already in play and requests that had happened in the past. So we can definitely add that. But
We're also gonna look at the co-op policy.
yes, and we're gonna look. Yeah, so I think we're definitely. This one is more just like we wanted to put it out there so that we could absolutely get like that type of feedback from you guys, and then also double check it with legal to make sure that we're really dotting I's, crossing T's, because I think the question to that then comes down to, is the school being used as a school or as a community center? Because I think that's gonna, and that's probably not a question any of us can answer, right? That would be a lawyer question.
No, I mean, I
That's
think
a Gina
we absolutely
question.
use it for both. But what I appreciate as superintendent about the co-op policy, it's very specific about different types of groups and categories of use, and it just spells it out. It's a little bit more black and white, and I think it's cleaner.
Yeah, like our campus, we can't have political candidates come and do any type of thing. A politician could come, but they can't do it in the sense of like fundraising or campaigning or things like that. So those are the types of things that I'm just thinking about.
And so those are the types of things that I deny. Doesn't necessarily have to be in policy. Could be in policy. I'm more specific about what does it look like if there's a group of I'm trying to like Brookline students who are in an activity and they want to utilize our facility. Does that look different from a for-profit group of students participating in a travel league, something using our, you know what I mean? So if you pay to participate and people are getting money, then are we just making our facilities open and available? Are we charging for services? And what does that fee structure look like? And so.
Yeah, and so specifically, we also wanted the lawyer to review, because we know that there are, with us being a border town, so to speak, that we wanted to definitely make sure that if we did have cross-state people requesting use, so that's one of the things we've asked the lawyer to specifically review, to make sure that we're being
or
good
beyond
about
the town.
Yeah, or beyond the town. Yeah.
Like a taxpayer versus a non-taxpayer
Yeah.
use of facilities.
Yeah.
And then the other question I just had was on the medication,
Yeah.
JLCD. In the EpiPen section F, there's a new medication that is a nose spray, and so I just don't know if any of that needs to be added in here, because it says like the auto injector, and it just references like auto injector.
Yeah, when was the nose spray approved? Do you know, Tracy?
It must have been within the last year, because we just got
You
it.
just did it in the spring.
Well, yeah, we just did it in January, so I'm wondering, Lauren, because she's talking about section F.
Yeah.
Auto right here. But I believe the nose spray would be covered under auto injector.
Because a auto injector, is that, I guess, Lauren, the question is does that cover like a syringe, or is that just anything that a student is giving to themselves?
No, I mean, auto
It means
injector
automatic,
means like
yeah.
a injection.
Yeah.
And this is like an Afrin.
Yeah, but you still have to squeeze it in order to make it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
But you
still
don't have to stick yourself
no,
with a
but
needle.
you're still self-injecting it into your body.
No, it's, so according to, very quick look, the auto injector cannot refer to a spray.
Okay, so does that, so
Cool.
Lauren, this
That's
was one that
great.
you worked on. Do you need to review this and add that, or does that, because this is, I think you worked with the nurses and
Well,
legal to
this
do
is
this.
specific to
Yep, so that,
epinephrine, which I know can come, right, can
Yeah.
come now in a nasal form, so, which read was this, first read?
This is, yeah, because
Yeah.
it was only
So
to
let me
do
get
a
some-
grammar
Yeah,
change.
Does
we got
that-
some language in that. We
Does
were
that count
adopted?
as a metered
It's already
dose?
been adopted since January.
Does that count as a metered dose inhaler?
No.
Because it's nasal, is you're inhaling it? I'm just
like I
asking.
said, this is
No.
just preliminary, I'm
No.
just looking, I mean, we
You
could
only,
add.
it's only a one dose thing.
Right, so it's metered.
We could add
But then
self-administration
you'd have to
of
do it again.
epinephrine.
We have self-administered
So-
metered dose inhaler.
Oh, yeah, at the
That's
top,
not-
F is,
that's,
it's, so it's not, a no spray would be different than.
not nasal. Typically, like you wouldn't call a spray an inhaler.
So
But-
could we just strike auto injectors and inhalers
Right,
and
I mean,
say
you could take out the
self-administration?
methodology and
Yeah.
just put administration and self-administration of epinephrine.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so we,
That's what I would say for that.
so we
And
want to
then-
push to a second read,
let's go
Dot?
second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
second
would just
read
do
and then
second-
just
yeah,
double
that-
check?
That'd be
Okay.
cleaner, because then I could just get exact definitions of what those are.
And then do you need to run that by the nursing staff, Lauren?
I'll let them know, but I don't
But
think there
that's
would be
on
any
your- okay.
objection to what it is, what we throw in there. But yeah, I think we just take out the methodology and put all self-administration.
Yay, new meds. Thanks for bringing that up, Tracy. I did not know that we had
I'm
a
glad
meds.
they have it.
No
I
spray.
know.
I think
Certain-
spray is good.
That's smart.
Yeah, for people that have been through it, they
Yeah.
don't really want to be injected
No.
again. So
Yeah.
I don't mind the injection.
All right, well.
Is there anything else regarding the policies that were brought forward tonight?
I just want, if there's no other questions, I do just want to offer a quick overview, especially on the ones that are federal. Lynn and I are requesting that everybody please at least give them a scan. While we can't change them, we do want to make sure there was a lot of information that got added. So we just scan it so that you guys are aware that we're all aware. I think that was the big one. The AI one we tabled, the school internet. Just so again, some of these we've reviewed, but I would just absolutely encourage anybody that if you're reading through them and you're noticing things, to just let us know. I think our next policy meeting is September 14th. It's the third week of September, so the sooner you get us the information, the easier it is for us to pull it. But overall, I think we've got some bigger ones I think coming up as well, like the AI one and a couple that. So just keep in. I might ask Allison to send out an email just letting you guys know when those come down, so you can take a look at them. Lynn, is there anything else I forgot to add?
Nope,
No.
it's great.
Okay, I'm also just going to take a minute and tell you guys from the SEC policy or SAU policy. I've been watching too many Rush videos. Please take a look at that because our SAU policy meeting is September 10th, and that will be the last opportunity that we have to amend the policy for spec. We have to adopt the form in October because we can't run an evaluation without a form. And the evaluation has to start in December. So please, please, please review. And if you have any questions, concerns, anything, please send me an email so I can pass it on to the SAU committee. I did send out a lovely long email that I don't think anybody read. Please read that because it does have some important information. But yeah, please just definitely, if you want to take a look at the SAU policies, just so that we can make sure that we have all the information and can make all the appropriate changes by September 10th, that would be fantastic for both Dot and I, so we don't have to email you again. Any other thoughts, questions about that? Okay.
All right, so then with that, I do need a recommendation to approve, I do need a motion to approve the recommendations of the Brookline Policy Committee as per the memorandum provided as part of the agenda packet.
As
With
amended.
the amendments
Yeah.
made this
Discussed.
evening, and discussed tonight.
I will make a motion.
May I get a second? Excellent, all approved?
Thank
Great.
you.
And then who would like, that's it, right? Who would like to do the honors?
Do we have any member interest?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, there were no member interest, items submitted.
Really quick. What is new member interest? What is that?
Member interest, remember I
I might not have
added this section last year is just if board members have something that they want to share out, it's kind of just a 3-minute quick, hey, I'm interested in this. They can share their thoughts. Tracy kicked it off for us last year. And then based on what is shared, if that's something then that we want to move to a bigger discussion, we can then put it on the following agenda. So it's kind of a way if a board member has an interest that they want to raise to us as a group, because we can't do it like offline. We can't do that offline. You can raise the interest. I'll give a 3-minute kind of open forum. It's not a discussion. It's just, hey, I'm interested in this. Here's why. Blah blah blah. And then if there's an appetite, we can add it to the agenda for further discussion at the next meeting. Okay.
And the process should be to send the topic to you.
Please.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions before we go? All right. Heather, you're usually great at closing out our meetings. We don't have a non-public tonight. Want to make the motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion to adjourn.
I don't have to roll call that, do
Second.
I?
Second.
Can I get a second? All in favor? It is 8:50.
Peace out.
And